Hello everyone, welcome to the Mind High Podcast. This is Z. Thanks for joining us. If you've been following the Mind High Podcast for the last few months, then you know that we've been uploading videos to our YouTube channel. Our most recent upload is titled Conscious Artificial Intelligence, and it's a small excerpt from Mind High Podcast number 10. It's about the limits of technology, the dawn of artificial intelligence, and the possibly emergent properties of consciousness. It's a very cool video and conversation, and if you're into things like that, definitely check it out. Just look up Mind High Podcast on YouTube. On today's podcast, we have our friend Omer joining us for the first time, with the usual crew, me, Ali, Shaz, and Hasban, and we talk about a lot of things like we usually do. We're going to talk about the Stanford Prison Experiment, the nature of humanity, the TV show Lost, and the whole journey and destination of that show and how it kind of relates to life itself. And then the last hour is dedicated to one phrase, and that is, change is the only constant. We go back and forth on whether that's true or not, and I'm not sure if we proved it either way in totality, but it's definitely a very interesting conversation. I'm gonna stop right here and let's jump right in. Yeah, but like to get to a point where you just want to kill them and dehumanize them, so I mean they've been brainwashed in a way, and you can say the similar thing, and it was a lot easier without Google.
I mean, they have that in jails too. They dehumanize the prisoners, that even though, like, let's say someone went to jail for marijuana use, they'll be next to a person who committed like murder. So
you treat them the same.
The people treat them the same. It doesn't, like, once you have this like a mindset that this person is a prisoner, they'll treat them like that. I think they had a college had experiment where they separated
the Harvard experiment.
Yeah, they separated the kids or the students between prisoners and the wardens, and it was the same effect. Over time, they started treating them really bad, even though it was an experiment.
Yeah, I remember that.
Wow. Yeah, and it's just like a mindset.
And it was an actual it was they had a fake made up prison, right?
Yeah.
And then they gave everybody roles, but everyone started playing the roles. This video
is called the Stanford Prison Experiment, by the way, not Harvard.
There's videos on it too.
I think there was a movie made on it recently too.
There's also a song by that name.
I don't know. Have you seen it? It's crazy.
Well, yeah, I've
Have you seen like videos of it? I remember seeing it in high school.
Yeah, exactly. They I think they showed it to us in some class.
Is it human nature to dehumanize others or people that you think are below you? Like, I was also reading where they took 88% of the population from Africa and took them as slaves, and majority of them died over the voyage or shipping or whatever. Like 88% of a population.
That's like going and like thinking, because you think them as cattle, right?
Yeah,
you don't think them as human beings. You're thinking like you're harvesting cattle, and I think I'm sure you've seen those pictures too, but I shared it with them where they show like the sail paper of the people coming off the boat.
Yeah. I saw that.
You read that and you just like tears
crazy.
come out of your eyes. Like, we were that, like, people are that,
and it wasn't that
evil.
long ago.
Yeah.
A little bit ago, you were asking if it's human nature to dehumanize people, and I think it is, because we were just talking about it earlier, that egos plays such a big part. It's such a big part of who you are, and it's part of ego to know that you're not the worst. Because it's, like, let's say you play Mario Kart, you come 10th. You rather, instead of coming last, you'd rather be 8th. You feel so much better. Yeah. At least I'm not last.
Even in basketball,
so you always,
we play basketball amongst ourselves. Like, how crazy do we get in that?
Dude, us playing basketball is such a good analysis of us. Yeah, like a social experiment.
We become apes. Like, we say shit
we
to
start
one another.
yelling at each other and shit.
We say shit that, like, why would we say that? Or at least I would say
I hope you die.
I hope you die, Leo.
And then you can tell, like, especially the younger kids, like, for example, Daniel, how his like emotions are compared to somebody, like, we get into fights, but we know that we're like adults at the end of the day. But especially the younger kids are like, dude, this is it. This is life.
I'm gonna go hard every day.
I'm on the grind.
But hold on, when we say dehumanize, are we saying that we're essentially saying that we're born with that instinct in ourselves? Because otherwise,
I mean, imagine like you know somebody in society and you know that person committed murder. The whole society or you automatically just look down on them.
Yep.
you automatically know that you're better than them. It's like an innate.
Yeah, but what I'm wondering is like, so with that Stanford experiment, I haven't read it all, but I'm wondering what are the preconceptions of those people? Like, how did they grow up? I mean, it's a different story if you take a bunch of infants and just put them in a control room and then you figure out what the human nature is. But when they grow up through different environments, then that environment builds into them. So then it's not exactly human nature anymore.
I mean, but if you're coming from different sides, let's say they have in the experiment itself, there's students coming in from all over the world.
And not only that, like they knew that
Were going in.
They knew that the person that was criminal was a man-made criminal. Like it was part of an experiment. So like the first, I forgot how long the experiment was, but it was for maybe a week or two or a month. I don't know.
Remember, no.
But in the beginning, you can see that they're just playing a role. They're saying, okay, lunchtime or this time, get out of the cell. They're just playing their role. But toward the end, it was all chaotic, where they were punishing them. They were taking things away from them. And people that were the prisoners, that they were acting as prisoners, were being tortured, in a sense, mentally. And they wanted out. Like, you can see people crying and saying, okay, I'm done with this shit. I want to get out. Like, it was pretty extreme. Like, people are treating people as criminals that they knew are an experiment. Like, everyone lived up to their role. The people in power lived up to their role and punished them.
When was this experiment done?
70s?
1971.
I know it's black and white, I think, right?
I don't. Yeah, it says right there, 1971.
Yeah, I remember seeing like a black and white footage.
So the quote from the guy that designed the experiment, it's kind of long, but I'll just say that they planned to do this for 2 weeks, but they had to stop after 6 days because of what was happening to the students that were in the experiment.
They were being like tortured in a sense, right? Because they started taking things away.
They were torturing someone. They were becoming evil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like people, there were some. I remember seeing footage of people crying too. Like they were not torturing them physically, but mentally.
Yeah, they're saying they were going through extreme stress. They had like signs of showing through it, and then.
So you said they came from all over the world. So can we find out where they came from?
I mean, they're just Stanford students. Students come from all over the U.S. and the world. So that's what I meant by that. Like, especially in a big school like Stanford, they have people from everywhere and like faces from everywhere.
But like people that are going to a school like Stanford, they've done quite. I mean, they've lived life. They have so many preconceptions before going to that.
Majority of them have it, but there's a lot of kids who get scholarships and are from different. They don't necessarily have the money, but I mean, more or less. They were pretty much the same, I think. They're not specific from like rich families or spoiled kids or different or poor kids or something like that.
So like, what was the rate? Was it like 100% to what human nature was, or did they get like a even split? Do you guys remember what like?
No, it was a while ago,
were?
but I just a lot of memories just coming back because it was like we took a course like a week just to study that whole thing, and I think it was a philosophy class. I could be wrong.
I don't remember. I'm pretty sure it was either a psychology class or something like that, or maybe like a different science class. But I'm pretty sure it was more.
But it just shows you how. I don't know. Was that a footage from there, Hasban, or?
So there's also a movie that came out I think last year or something based on the Stanford Prison Experiment.
And that's it right there. That's the trailer for it.
For it.
And they're probably using actual footage and whatnot. But yeah, it is really entertaining. Like something that was supposed to last 2 weeks, like Hasban said, was cut out because people were just getting too evil.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard music by that name, but for some reason, and I've never really looked into the whole Stanford experiment.
And everyone knew there were actors and playing a role, and then the people in power just became so evil and started punishing people. But it's a monkey DNA.
How does compare that to our prison system?
Now,
I mean, it makes sense. And those are people that actually committed crime, and those are people who are getting paid.
Imagine how. I remember like reading like an article like long ago, like I never mind, just too disturbing.
I think they were just tired. They were pissed off. They just wanted to go back to school life.
I think the point is that humans can be conditioned very easily. We think that we have some power to be good, and we think that we're just like that. But we don't really know our primal selves.
Yep.
That's a good point. I'm wondering, were they conditioned in a way through their life to be that? You know what I mean? Because when you talk about human nature, I become skeptical because the environment is such a big part of it. I'm wondering how much of that environment affected and made.
I think it
them
was all the environment. Like you can have good people, like even you
No,
and I.
you're
go
saying
into
before
it.
the experiment. I think that's what you're talking about, right? You're talking about pre-experiment environment.
Yeah.
Okay. I just think that humans are like that. I think we all have good and evil in us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure.
And I think that it's actually conditioned rather like easily. I think it's a battle you fight all the time, but people think they are good or they are bad.
It's so much easier to do the easy thing, whether it's bad compared to the good. Like, would you go out of your way a lot just to do the right thing, or would you just end it and just don't care and be bad?
I agree with you. I think like when you have like controversial topics, it's a lot easier when somebody does something wrong. Like for instance, if Shaz does something that pisses me off, it's a lot easier for me to just yell at him and get mad at him rather than understand the situation and why he did it, because that takes time and effort. The monkey inside me is like, dude, what the fuck? Why did you do that? I hate you. Just give me that shit. You know, just go off on him.
Slap him.
No, thank you.
Because I mean, to take it easy, you gotta calm yourself down, and your mind is going in different directions, and you want to think of everything logically, and that's a lot of effort, and not everybody wants to spend that much energy on and patience on every
especially
situation.
if it's not like everyone is sitting at home relaxed. You know, these are people's jobs. These are people's livelihoods, and especially in different situations where like if you're a cop and you're always under stress and you're being like in a bad neighborhood and you're getting shot or something, you won't think to do the right thing. You'll just react.
Yeah.
So I think it comes down to survival, right? So like there's something in our genetics that that primal thing comes out where even if you entertain the idea of that you're in some sort of threat, it goes, you have some sort of chemical reaction in your brain that you start doing things that you would not normally do. You know, sometimes when you get angry at a brother or a family member, when it's over, you're like, what the hell did I just do? You know, like I went so out of the way to be insane or do things, and that wasn't you. It's just something about you. It's that subconscious, if you will, that takes over. It's just how much of, you know, it's like a dark cloud. Like I kind of picture it like I don't know, like the TV show Lost, when that dark
smoke monster.
Spoilers.
Spoiler: the show.
20
sucked.
years later.
It's not worth it. Don't do it.
Yeah.
I'm still on season 1, guys.
But when that smoke comes out, that's what I picture. Like if your brain is like good and something's happening.
I mean, that was the exact reason that monster was the evil guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a good comparison.
But that show kind of ruined it. I don't know why I'm talking about the show now. When that smoke thing came out, and I'm like, what the hell is this shit? Because that, you know, went from being something like realistic to unrealistic, like unnatural.
I still think Lost and its like quality it like sparked this entire industry now.
I'm so with you. Like people only talk about the show, but what the show sparked, like this creative writing, and when the thing is that they try to take it into so many places.
Yeah,
like you got a polar bear on the island and all this kind of stuff.
I mean, we always wanted like big answers, like, oh my god, that's why it was there, but it was just like random.
Yeah, exactly. And
I
the
enjoyed
answers,
it.
I did.
Did you
I
say
hated
it
the
sucked?
ending. I hated the ending.
It wasn't good as with point of interest.
Probably
but
if you hated that ending, you're gonna hate the ending to life. no answers.
you all gonna
It's
die.
really depressing.
That was terrible, Z.
But can we talk about it? Spoilers or whatever. But
Yeah,
I was just joking though.
Yeah,
But-
we're
but-
definitely gonna talk about it.
But they died and they were stuck in what's that thing?
Like
A
limbo,
limbo.
purgatory, or something.
Purgatory.
So the airplane did crash, but there were things in their lives that caught them, and they.
I mean, they were all waiting for him to die, so he can come to purgatory with them, and they can go on the next level. Either it's hell or heaven or whatever. But everyone predicted it was heaven because they were going towards the light, or going to be judged. But everyone slowly died, and then they all met at purgatory and waited for what's his name, the last guy who died. I forgot who it was. And then they go from there to the next. I mean, there's how are you going to end a show like that? I don't get it.
You know, it was cool when they had the parallel. I think it was the last couple seasons where they had the parallel timelines going.
Was it last season?
Yeah, the concept was really. I think. Yeah, you're right. I think it was the last season. The concept itself was really cool, and I agree with Chaz that I feel like Lost really catapulted the TV
right.
industry.
Yeah, put it to next level status.
The writing though, I heard that they would write it as the show went on, so it wasn't like they already had 6 seasons. 5
Exactly. So
seasons
they
done.
made all these plot points,
Yeah,
and they're like,
exactly.
"All right, how are we going to close this plot point
How
and
do we
that one?"
solve this issue?
And
Damn
because the questions in that show were such a big part of it, then the answers became a really big part of it too as the show went on.
But I guess my bias of not believing in heaven when I thought that, I'm like, oh, this is stupid. You know, like that. I think that was part of like probably my
you wanted
own,
more.
So
I wanted something more than that.
So
yeah,
for me, it was a little different. I guess this is where you split up the camp into two different sides. There's people that are just in it for the journey, and there's people that are in it for the destination. For me, the journey of Lost was amazing.
Why
Oh,
can't
I
you
thought
be
you were talking
both?
about life.
Yeah, I got.
Life too,
I
sure.
really thought you were talking about life there.
Yeah, it's a parable for life, sure.
Can you
But
repeat
I
that
didn't.
again? I'm sorry.
Like I'm saying that the journey of the whole TV show Lost was amazing. I don't even remember what the ending was. All I know is I enjoyed the show.
Yeah.
I don't even care that it ended however it did. I just know that the whole journey was incredible, and I love the
I
show.
mean, that's what we tend to do, right? As human beings, like when we're going through this journey, we're like, we want to know what the end will be, but when we get to the end, we miss the journey.
Yeah,
And it's like both of them. Like it's
Can
like,
I go back?
yeah, exactly. Like we don't know. Like people, like I heard the quote, or whatever it was. It's like I wish I knew I was living the days of my lives when I was living them.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, because we miss every, like we'll miss all of this
Yeah.
or whatever what might be later on, but you just don't realize it. I mean, that's a huge part of the show itself.
So we shouldn't care about the destination, because if you care about the destination in life,
Then you waste your
it's
life.
gonna suck because you're gonna
waste your
die.
life.
I mean, I think you can. I think you can do a little bit of both, because destinations can give you like, if you see maybe like a small light at the end of the tunnel, that could be
Like a
your goal.
roadmap?
Yeah, it can be your goal or something, but you still have to look at the step in front of you. You can do both.
Sure. Yeah.
So
Doesn't
you're
have to
saying
be-
there's two sides, the destination and the journey, right? So for me, I think it will just be the journey, because the destination is not guaranteed. The journey
but
is.
hold on, you said the destination ruined the show for you. The way Lost ended. That's kind of like you were focused on the
No,
destination.
because they went into the answer of the plane did crash and they were caught in this
Yeah.
in this thing, and now they're going to heaven. And I'm even back then I wasn't into religion
A
or the
lot of
concept
people
of
weren't.
heaven,
Yeah.
and I didn't like that idea of I watched the whole show on
Yeah.
something that doesn't exist.
Wait,
Right.
but did you enjoy the show? The
Okay,
journey?
okay. If I take that away, I enjoyed it for up to the 4 seasons, and after that, I felt like it kind of got boring.
But the reason that people enjoyed it is so they can find the ending too. So without the ending, like it would probably be, people would be like, people will still won't like it or something. Like the reason that somebody might like the show is because they have anxiety to know what will eventually happen.
Yeah. No, I feel like the show is good, but then it kind of got redundant after the 4th
Yeah,
season.
of course. Yeah, people like the ending turned a lot of people off. Like,
Yeah.
it was just didn't do it for them. Like they wanted something like
Bigger.
that will blow their mind
Yeah,
away.
it,
But
it wasn't for me as big as I thought
Yeah,
it was
exactly,
gonna be. Because the way like the first 3 seasons were set up, we're like, holy shit, what is that?
people think like dinosaurs or something.
Yeah, remember that?
You thought you were gonna get the answers to life.
that one, that one bald guy that he found like
John Locke.
John Locke, he found that some sort of
A
gate
hatch
on a hatch on the floor. It's like that thing I used to think about all the time. Holy shit, what could it be down there? And like, and then they had a butt in
just
there.
some random guy playing his music over and over again.
And now
Yeah.
you just think about God.
Yeah, and then like the polar bear thing, and
Yeah.
that thing was amazing. When the smoke thing came flying in,
But I mean, what's really interesting is in that show, John Locke, his biggest thing is what is this life about?
Yeah.
In that show, and how it ended for him was the most sad and depressing thing ever, because he died without knowing the answer. He just died for pretty much no reason at all, and that's like crazy.
I
But
guess
that's
life
how
for
all of
some-
us are gonna die.
I know. I mean, not all of us.
All of
Hopefully
us.
not.
But some of
All
us,
of
well, no, some of us will know on the deathbed, or you have cancer, you're going in, and you have 2 hours
Like
left. you know?
his thing
Yeah.
was always like, why? Because he used to walk in a wheelchair, and then when he came into the alley, he could walk.
Yeah,
So
that's
like
insane.
it was also always like something is divine, something is special, but in the end, like for him, it really wasn't, and it's kind of sad, but it's reality. Like how many people live out their entire lives without getting what they want? And
Yeah.
it's
Going-
like a huge majority.
Going back to that concept of destination journey, which is like thought provoking for me right now. It sounds so beautiful. Like, what do you guys would prefer, like journey or destination?
Journey.
So like the end destination doesn't matter, right? Because the destination is not guaranteed.
I mean, I think the destination would be good if your journey is good. Like if you live a good, moral, fulfilling life, I think the journey will be. I mean, the destination itself would be good.
What is a destination? Is just your ground. You go to the ground. And that's
I mean,
it.
if
There's
you go into
nothing
the ground,
after
yeah,
it.
exactly. If you go into the ground, then at least your journey was good.
Yeah. So I mean, even from we're gonna go to ground regardless. We don't have an option. Like, you know, we don't.
We might in the future, but yeah.
We might in the future,
Live forever.
or we might not. You know, there is a chance that a lot of other things could happen and end things before that. But right now, all we have and all we can confirm is the journey. It's right now. That's all we have.
Yeah.
We can't guarantee the future. We can't promise that what I believe is true. So, what are you going to sacrifice the most? Your journey or your destination?
Actually, it's funny that you say that because some people say the only thing you can guarantee is the destination.
Death is the only constant in life.
Yeah, because like right here I'm for my test and my destination is proven and I can go through there, but it's not proven. If you go back to conforming with reality, reality needs to be available for everyone to see, right? Only you cannot see that reality. If there is an afterlife destination and you feel like it's so true, where is evidence for it? Because why is that reality true for you and not for me? And if you're a type of person that you're just gonna lock yourself in a bubble and feel like, no, my destination is true because God spoke to me, and those people are just devil's work or whatever or distraction for me, then let them figure it out on their own. I'm not gonna sacrifice my destination, you know. But it's like I don't know. It's just sad to me because like knowing maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but like I just feel like there isn't any, and the people are gonna just waste their journeys.
Well, I'm pretty certain there is a destination. That's the one thing that's certain.
Death.
That there's nothing. It's death. So
Yeah, I
the
mean,
only thing you control
like
is the journey.
Right. I mean, like afterlife. There isn't any afterlife. You're not gonna go there. You're gonna wake up as a soul and go up to heaven or hell. You know what I mean? I don't think that there is any of that. So like so many people in this world. There's 7 billion people in this world, and so many billions of people of the world devote their life to the destination and ignore the journey.
Yeah.
But I mean, people, regardless of religion or not, all tend to ignore the journey because we get lost.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree. Yeah.
Like working 9 to 5, or if you have kids, or if you don't have enough money, the journey goes away completely. Like it's like we live for the weekend, or we live for happiness in others, or we live for something like that. Like journey is lost regardless.
I think it gets lost when your curiosity gets lost. When you stop trying to understand the universe, that's when your journey stops.
I mean, you can't have curiosity and you can't be a single mother and take care of your 3 kids too. It doesn't work. Like
you could.
No, you can't, because if they don't have any food to eat, you don't care about being curious. You care about feeding them. Like that doesn't apply.
That's what you're curious about, is about how I'm gonna feed your kids.
Yeah. Well, how am I gonna get this money? Like you can't apply that for everybody because we don't know the struggles that people face, and it's so hard to even be in the situation.
Right. So if you're in that situation, how do you approach to solve that problem? You either approach it in a positivity way or a negative way.
Yeah.
So it all depends on how your mind is structured, and I feel like if you do go in that curiosity aspect, it helps you answer a lot of the questions, and it takes the stage just gets a lot bigger where you see the universe and yourself and how you're all in one. And even though you're suffering, you kind of understand it and appreciate it. I don't know. Maybe I could be just... I'm speaking on someone's situation that I've never been to, but from my experiences, even when but even my situation, when I've been like kind of lost and like, but for me, all you have to do is look up. And I haven't starved, so I don't know that feeling.
I have a great ceiling. I got it painted myself.
Yeah, but I haven't starved. I haven't been thirsty. I don't have that feeling to know that. But knowing what I know now, if I was in that situation, I just feel like that was my moment in my now. And I really wanted to talk about the Shanthorn book, that one quote that you posted, your favorite part, because I think that kind of
the one about free will.
Yeah, if you can read that, because I think that ties very well into this, because this guy is being tortured because he's captured or captive, whatever.
Yeah, it's a prologue, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's like the first passage, first paragraph of the first page.
And what that passage said was, I'll let Hazwan read it because he's the one who found it. But like, I thought it was deep as fuck. Like, someone's being tortured and they still feel like they're free, like they're captive. So like knowing that, if you get to that high level of thinking, of intellectual thinking, you can kind of escape the suffering and the pain and find some sort of like cosmic perspective from it.
So as long as you're
All right,
like,
so you read it. I'm gonna highlight it.
Where to go? Right from where you highlighted.
Sure, or you can start from the beginning, but this is the whole quote.
It took me a long time and most of the world to learn what I know about love and faith and choices we make. But the heart of it came to me in an instant while I was chained to a wall and being tortured. I realized somehow, through the screaming of my mind, that even in that shackled, bloody, helplessness, I was still free. Free to hate the men who were torturing me or to forgive them.
That's deep as shit, dude. Because even he's held captive and they're beating the shit out of him.
Everything in his body is just
It's
about
just taken.
pain right now, but he just still has that one choice,
he's
that one
free.
thought.
Just realizing that in itself, it's pretty much impossible to be in that situation and realize it.
It's crazy because I'm totally with Sam Harris. I don't think there's a real thing as free will. By the way, they define it. But if you have this much freedom, I feel like it's enough. You're asking for too much.
so as long as you have choices, you're free.
But I think Sam Harris talks about the illusion of choice. He would say that even that choice is an illusion.
Yeah, it's not really free. but for me, that's a higher level of intellectual thinking, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Like you're so like such a deep thinker as you're being beat and tortured. You're saying I'm still, even though you have me locked up to the chain, I'm still free because I can choose to freaking hate you. Like that's my free thought. You can't control my thoughts. You can control where I'm captive and where I'm locked, but you can't control that.
So fine, I'm getting hit. I'm not gonna get mad. I'm okay with it. You know,
Whatever you think, they can't.
I'm still gonna make it the best of the situation.
Yeah.
I just wanted to go back for a second about what you were saying, that you look up, and I just find that so interesting. So a lot of religious people would say, I just think of God, and you said you look up. But when you say
look
you
up to see the stars, and then
you're looking at the stars,
Yeah.
but you're really kind of thinking of the universe as some force that's going to guide you.
No, you're filling in words for me. It's not gonna guide me. It just shows me that I'm nothing in the process. So my pain is nothing. I'm suffering for nothing. I am nothing. And
Okay, I get what you're saying.
Suffering is the only truth, though.
yeah, but even then, from that cosmic perspective, my suffering is nothing. It's all in my head. I make this bigger than the universe itself.
No,
You know what I mean?
You're right about that. But then I'm just trying to give so your specifics might be a little different, but the parallels for why a religious person does it to
And
why
why you
you're
do it,
doing it
yeah.
is very much the same.
Right, but
Right,
but
and hold on. I have a perfect quote for explaining what you're trying to
Sure.
say. So I don't know if you guys saw Bill Maher when he was on Stephen Colbert.
which just recently or
Maybe it was a year ago. I don't know when I saw it, but Stephen Colbert they were just joking around, and he was talking to Bill Maher, and he's like, "Come back, you know, the doors are always open," because he's religious or somewhat, you know.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, "Come to the Lord. All you have to do is say that there is something greater than you in the universe." And then Bill Maher looks at him, and he's like, "I do believe that there is something greater than me in the universe, but my answer to that is not to create silly stories."
yeah,
Yeah, that's fine. That's fair.
yes,
I agree.
I also agree.
That part's true. It's just that the parallels between religious people and people who are really, really. So I started thinking about this a lot.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah,
I'll explain.
Because once you start thinking about that, you are a universe. Like if you just take that thought process further, so you are the universe. Everything that you think is the universe thinking. You love the universe. You're always trying to promote the universe. In fact, you're like a worker for the universe. You're that
slave.
one cell that it has that's working for the progress of it. You feel like you're the protector of this universe. So if you keep taking that thinking forward, you become like a soldier of the universe. Just like a religious person looked at his book.
So, like looking up into the sky, like which human being, even including maybe some sort of animals, we all look up to the sky. Because I mean, there's only one thing to do at night and see the deep infinity of space and be like, what the hell is that? Someone will answer God and someone will say, no, like I would look up and say there's nothing up there. But that nothing for me is everything. You know what I mean? Because like it's so vast that it looks like it's nothing, but it's just completely just full with infinite possibilities, solutions, space. It just goes on forever. Where's the beginning? Does it begin? Does it end? Was it always there? Like,
Right.
So like for me, I'm not looking to find God. I'm looking just to see how small I am. And sometimes what I feel like what we human beings do is we make our problems bigger than the universe. Like the problems, the battles that we're fighting, the struggles we're having at work, the family members that we're probably fighting
But
with or
what do you
arguing.
mean when you say bigger than the universe? You're saying bigger than a star, or
No, just the whole universe. Like all the problems that you ever face reside in your head, and sometimes we make them so big into a scale where the universe becomes like a grand. Like your problems cannot be bigger than the universe, because if you understand the universe, and your problems are always a lot smaller. And I think for me, solutions then come out easier. Even if you are dying, even if you are struggling, you can find a greater meaning that in this infinite of shit that's out there.
Infinite shit.
Infinite of shit.
Well, that's a perspective shift, right?
Yeah.
But is that pessimistic or is that optimistic?
You tell me, bro.
You're saying
That's a good
you
question.
sound happy and you're smiling, but it sounds pessimistic.
Yeah. It could be both.
I'm
Like,
nothing.
I am
I'm
nothing.
no one.
I have nothing.
Like my problems mean nothing.
I'm
This
on
is
my
not
knees
real.
crying. I have nothing.
But you sound happy about it.
Please, God.
For me,
Make me
okay.
something.
Let's go. We can segue to our what the fuck moment.
Oh no, no.
Lower.
I'm not ready.
Don't worry. Too many of those.
All right, I'm gonna go into my anyway.
Stop going on that
Brought to
train.
you by.
What the fuck moment? Brought to you by Taco Bell.
Ding, live mas.
What the fuck's in those tacos?
But hold on, I just want to go back to that one thing that Haldan was saying, how there's like a link between when you're looking up and, a religious person sees God and
Yeah.
you're also looking up. But I think there is also a key difference, right? With a religious person, you're looking up and you believe you already have the answers. Whereas a person, like if he's looking up, he's wondering what the answers are or if they're even out there. So I think
Well,
that
a
is
religious
such a
person
switch.
is also looking for answers.
but then you.
True.
I'm
But-
not mean.
But they're also in the book right there.
Yeah.
You could just read the book.
Yeah, but they're not every single answer.
yeah, it's not like every single answer. That's kind of like a.
That's
I mean
why-
to say
okay.
ignorant, but
Like I forgot
sounds
to pay my
ignorant because-
Comcast bill.
Yeah,
Let me just look at
exactly.
this
It's
book.
not gonna tell you how to pay your bills.
No, I mean, no, of course, I know all the answers aren't there, but I'm saying what the
Here.
book says.
That's
For
why
instance, I
The
only
God
know-
started everything. That answer is there.
I mean, the Quran says that the book has everything you need. It
Yeah.
literally says that.
I
I'm
think
not
it
making
means
it
it
up.
means yeah, but I think it means in a general sense.
well, it's gotta
Like
be
life
specific.
philosophy.
It's gotta say that though, right?
I don't know. It says it has everything you need. I don't know
Yeah.
how else you can interpret
Everything
Yeah.
you need, but everything else outside of that is a want.
Okay, but I need answers.
I want answers. God damn it!
Yeah, needs and wants are two different things, though.
Yeah.
You're correct, bro.
No, but
Thank you, God.
I need and want answers.
This this next segment is brought to you by God.
why the fuck are you
You've
questioning
been
me?
right.
What the fuck? What the fuck, mom? is not
By the way,
concluded?
don't forget on that list you pulled up, Jesus was like number 67.
And that's a
Oh,
legit
he was
list.
on the list.
He
Yeah,
was
he
like
was.
way down.
I went to
Donald
the
Trump
rest-
is number 3, but Jesus is like,
We do know that who that list was sponsored by Donald Trump.
by Jesus.
by the oil company, Keystone Pipeline.
by
let us
the
know.
Koch brothers.
Oh man!
I'm
But-
just gonna call them that.
But the other day, after work, we went out for drinks and I was leaving, right?
Yeah.
And then I think I texted you guys. I'm like a moment of bliss. Like,
Yeah.
I was so. I can't even. I'm gonna try to describe it in words, but like I couldn't even.
You were drunk.
By the way, he did tell us that he drank 3 beers before that.
There's already a word for this.
I think I passed out. So
It's called being buzzed.
damn, I don't know what else to say now. You took my story. But I step out and I saw him in.
You looked up.
No, I did look up. Yeah, I found God. But I get out and I left the place and I'm walking to the train station and it was like around like 7. Yeah, it was around like 7:00. And like at that time, like the city was just lit up, like fucking just lit up, dude. Like the colors were also vibrant and
Were you in a high rise or something? Or
no, I was just walking on Randolph, going towards like the blue line. For those who live in Chicago, and as I was walking down, I felt like everything just stopped, but I kept walking in it. I felt like the city stopped. Like this guy was taking out his bike. I felt like he stopped, and it was just like the weirdest experience. And I felt like I was going to slow mo, where this is my life, and everyone I'm seeing here was meant to be here in this exact moment in space. And I kind of just wanted to run to everyone and just hug them. And like like, dude, you were meant to be here so I can see you and perceive you. I'll never know who you are, what life battles you're fighting, but you were meant to be here so I can just walk by you and not even acknowledge you. You know, that just blew my mind. Like, how many people do I fucking walk by and don't even understand who they are, what life battles they're fighting, and so forth. And
Like all you are is just a backdrop in someone else's life.
yeah, and
Everything exactly.
Yeah.
All your problems are backdrop.
I'm his backdrop, and he's my backdrop. And I'm just walking by, and like I just wanted to go up and hug him. Like, dude, I'm just so happy that the universe gave me
You would
life.
freak him out.
And you're my backdrop, bro. Like, you right now, like.
Bro, on my desktop, you're my backdrop. Bro. You're my wallpaper.
And then as I'm walking to the city, like, the city just looks so weird. Like, every time I picture the city, I feel like all the buildings are flash drives plugged into the ground of Earth, sucking its energy out. You know, that part was kind of like depressing, but it's like we're just sucking nature's like we're leeches. All the motherboard. Like, we're like each building was like a leech in a sense, where it's just connected to the ground, sucking.
Then
his
we're
blood.
Also leeches. Oh,
Yeah,
we kinda are.
we are.
No, I actually love that thought, because every time I go through like something important, or I feel like that moment is important, I just think about the fact that everything that's ever happened in the universe led me to this moment.
Yeah. My neurons firing the way they are, me
And
being
then
at
you
it.
flush the toilet.
That's exactly
Goodbye,
what happened.
particles.
I loved you. And it goes up and hugs it.
Like every time I drive by in downtown at night, you just see like someone's light inside of their house, and it's like,
That's the story.
yeah, it's crazy.
That's
like
the story,
that's
man.
a complete. If you hover over there and you go to them, it's a complete different life. And
Life
all their
and a
problems.
story. All the majority is all problems. Like, we're all fighting some sort of problems, you know. But how many of are truly happy? You know, like, that's the thing. Like,
I don't think true happiness even exists. I feel like it's just a concept. Like,
Just a back
I don't
and
think we were
forth.
here to be truly happy. I think we were supposed to like
but
experience joy.
Is it balanced? Like, you know, how many people are truly balanced in happiness? And
Oh,
how many-
I don't think that. Oh, you're talking like that specific person?
like at work personally, I feel like everyone just like
Like a robot?
and just shows up because this is where I'm told to be at work. I gotta be the best at this. You know what I mean?
I think everything is built into moments. So even those people that are not happy generally during the week, when they get to the weekend, they're like in bliss, they're happy. So it's like a constant struggle. Like with everything, it's a balance. There are moments of happiness, moments of sadness, moments of everything. It's never just one. Unless you're a Buddhist monk, maybe.
Can
But
there
not
be
even them.
Can there be too much of a good thing? Like, I remember I used to love mac and cheese. I'm like, I could have this every day, but I started having more and more. I don't eat it all
love
these
mac and
days.
cheese.
So it's like,
Love mac
if
and
you were always happy, you wouldn't even appreciate it, and maybe
I
that's
agree.
too much of a good thing. You know, it could be
Being
a bad
like
thing.
being sad really appreciate like especially if you go through something traumatic and then you come out of it and you have like a little bit of joy in your
Yeah.
life.
I just-
and that joy is like, you know, magnified by 10 times than it like normally would be.
If I'm like ever sad, I always like kind of just tell myself, dude, just be happy. Like,
So
If it was only that easy.
it is
Yeah.
a mindset.
I do the same thing with like when you get a little bit of stress, and it's funny when you think
Don't
about
worry
it,
about
you
it.
think about your mind and how you're stressed right now and how funny it is. Hey, dude, like I'm stressed right now. How funny is that? Like
your brain is telling you.
taxing you with all this.
And then also like I try to appreciate smaller moments. Like I was just hanging out with my mom and dad. And it was such a normal day, and I was just thinking like, eventually I'll miss this moment. I want to be back here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another weird thing. Another
Oh,
weird
God.
thing for me is like, man, anytime like if you're like walking in the street or just driving by, I look over and it's like this person that I'll never ever see again.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what? Like, it's so weird. It's like, what if you did talk to this person? You just got on, you both started talking.
Yeah, I would
Like,
think all the time.
The pinball kind of motion where you come and you get knocked into this direction.
You know what?
So-
You know what I love to do is when I see them walking by me, I kind of like see what I kind of write what their life story is. Okay, this guy is probably going through this and this. He probably works. Just I'm judging them basically how they're dressed and how their face expression are. But I kind of like to entertain the idea of maybe what are these people?
Yeah.
And the second thing, a mindfuck is like, have you ever pass by someone that's taking a picture and then you feel like you came in the picture in the background? So you're the backdrop, like going back to what Omer said earlier, you're the background in their picture and they will never know you, who you are, what you stand for, what you believe, but your atoms, your reflection from the sun or the light of the flash or whatever was captured at that moment, and they're gonna take that and and maybe it's a couple hugging or kissing, but you're in the background just walking by, and that's all they will know of you. You're some backdrop dude that's walked behind them,
Yeah,
and they
photo
captured a
bomber.
moment. Yeah, they just captured a moment of you, and then you will move on from your whole life. But that picture, as long as it exists in the universe, it might exist longer than you do, but you'll be always that one dude that was a backdrop for someone's picture.
Right. And you know, people actually do that. They go to cafes. It's called people watching. They go
Yeah.
in, they
What
just
is that?
watch
If
people.
you ever go to New York and Times Square, one of the best things to do is just sit up on the stairs and just people watch. And it's like thousands of people doing different things, and it's just so fascinating. It's like a pattern.
It's like being at a zoo.
Yeah, you see people come in, they take a picture, they walk away. You see people come in, take a picture, walk away. It's just like what
Because
is
they're
this
all
all-
probably trying to like experience Times Square like they think they should, and they see one person taking a picture, and then they try to take that picture, and
Yeah.
it probably becomes a pattern.
I mean, I've done it
That's
too. I've
been
taken
going on
pictures.
forever.
I've taken a picture as I went to the stairs. That I observed.
People just, I mean, I was recommended to go there and just people watch.
Whatever I do, I go to Times Square. I look at the pattern and go against it. So everywhere I go, I sit down for a little while.
So think about it. If you are in Times Square, which is a dense population of doing different activities and so forth, instead of looking at them as people, like even at work when I'm leaving, I picture brains and neurons like
So you
that.
dehumanize them.
Not
Literally.
sure. I just look at. I just picture floating brains walking by. You know, I don't like take the human part out of it, and just so you just like you see as people are walking. There's a computer in charge of this body, because this body is like a car, if you will, right? It's where this body is there to help this brain travel where it needs to go and do its things and so
Your
forth.
body is like the mental image of what they are.
Or your body is the car, and then the brain's the driver,
Like
right?
it's like your brain likes these clothes, so you wear these clothes. Your brain
Yeah.
likes this watch, so you wear this watch. It's
Yeah.
like a physical appearance of what your brain might look like if it had a body.
And then another thing, like, is like when I'm driving and someone's giving me like if they're ahead of me and they're giving a signal that they're about to turn right. On a deeper level, the cars aren't telling me he's going to go right. The brain is telling me he's going to go right. So that brain communicated a message through me through the car. So like it's like a profound moment for me. Like, holy shit, there's neurons in that brain that fired that was going to go right, and it traveled in space and time and came into my fucking head. Like I communicated with that
It's
consciousness.
like telepathy.
Yeah, I communicated with that consciousness through this fucking car. And as we're
Indirectly, yeah.
driving by and all these cars are going through, we all are communicating amongst ourselves that you stay in that lane, I'll stay in this lane. That I won't hurt you, that you don't hurt me. It's all these telepathic communications are happening in a sense via the car tool, you know?
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, we're living in an ecosystem where everything has a reaction. Everything you do,
Yeah,
and he sees it, he can perceive it and react to it.
yeah.
Or he can choose not to react to it. But his brain will decide in a way.
Yeah, someone
on how to
slams their
react.
brakes, their conscience is saying, oh shit, I gotta stop. And then your brain reacts the same way. Thank you for telling me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop as well. Otherwise, I'm gonna rear end you. But like next time you're driving and you see the taillights lit up, either if they're stopping or turning, that's another brain communicating to you. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just feel like that's fucking.
But even that
Beautiful.
takes time. If somebody in front of you brakes too fast for your brain to comprehend,
Yeah, that's too late.
that's an accident.
Yeah,
You can't react to it. You need
Yeah.
a software update in a way,
yeah. Me too.
which will come very soon.
Cyborgs.
Patent pending.
But you know that whole thing when you were talking about being in like when you were walking down the streets in Chicago and there's like light everywhere.
Yeah.
That also got me thinking about like when I did the Colorado or the Grand Canyon trip, and when we were landing in Phoenix, you see like this one little small city and there's
Just
lights
lit up.
everywhere, and everything around it is just dark because I landed at night. It was pitch dark. It's
Yeah.
like I'm about to land in an island. It's like floating in infinity. There's nothing. It's just darkness.
Oh,
And
so
then
you
there's
just see
small
that city
ball.
that's lit up.
It's just Phoenix, this little ball lit up with some lights around. Everything else is just mountains. There's no lights.
Right.
It's bizarre. And that's when you realize how powerful light is, because that darkness was so scary. It just
Yeah.
looks like a sea of nothingness.
It's just natural, like seeing that in my daughter grow up too. Like there's nothing like that we're trying to scare her or anything, but naturally now, like if she sees a bathroom door being open at night, she just sees that it's dark, and she'll say, "Oh, it's too dark in there. Close the door." And then you know she won't go to sleep until I go close that door. And I try to walk her in there and show her, "Hey, there's nothing in here. You know, it's just only a bathroom." but the fact that it's dark, something it does to our brain from youth that it associates it with threat.
Not only youth, I would say
safety.
it's been ingrained into
Millions
you
of years.
millions of
Yeah,
years
yeah.
through evolution.
That there's no information
Yeah,
in that
dark,
spot.
yeah,
You
dark.
can't comprehend what's going on in the dark. Your
Yeah.
eyes,
dangerous.
there's no light. How are you going to comprehend data when there's no light coming
You
into
can't
your
see what's
eyes?
there, who was threatened. So like, it's so fascinating to see that in her. Like, you know, like she's just picking that up on her own. Like, hey,
So
it's too dark in there.
Is
Go
that
close
is that
door.
built in?
I think it is.
It's
Like,
definitely built in.
Yeah.
because I walked her through it so many times, and we wake up at
I mean,
night.
even grown-ups, like
Yeah.
even grown-ups are scared of the dark.
I'm sure like some very early humans or whatever, wherever they started, they fell into the ditch or something over and over.
No, I think it's just survival
It's like-
instinct.
I think you just die when you go into the dark. That's what happens.
Yeah.
If we,
Your chance of
That's better.
survival is low.
if you look at like the history of human beings, it's only been 20,000 years or so that we've been advanced so far. But before that, millions of years of like redundant evolution or whatever. It's the same thing. So
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can't get rid of it that fast.
Yeah, that's
Like,
true.
we can't elevate from millions of years of evolution of trying to instill the fear of
Right.
of random things. It just will be.
So if you were building a robot, would you program it to perceive dark as a threat and be conscious? Yeah, because you would just say if you have a flashlight, turn it on. And just
I mean, you would
know?
like the fears that are real. You would put it in there, like if there's.
in order for it to survive, he's got to
Yeah,
know.
exactly.
He's got to know those threats too, right?
I mean, there are real threats out there. Like if it's
Yeah.
like it's crazy. Like the thought that it's like snowing and it's like -20 outside, and we would be in here comfortable and normal. Like if you would go outside for even an hour or two, you would die from like hypothermia without if you don't have a coat on or anything. Like that's how real it is. But we're so far away and escaped from that reality of like danger itself that we don't even care for it.
Well, so we're not really exactly scared of just the dark. We're scared of what's in the dark. Like with that thing that we don't know is in the dark. So it's not just like it's not the absence of light that scares us. It's what appears.
Yeah,
The
so that's
absence
what
of
I thought.
information.
It's the absence of. It's like the
Yeah.
unknown. Exactly, it's absence of information. But I mean, that is kind of the fear of dark. It's kind of implied because the reason why you fear the dark is because there's no information. But even then, you brought up the point earlier on. You were talking about how growth is so exponential nowadays. I wonder, because of course in the past we haven't recorded how much depression we had thousands of years ago. Today you find like the stats are rising. There's so many depressed people that literally suffer from actual clinical depression. And I wonder if it's because that we evolved in the jungles, right? For maybe 100,000 years, that's where we evolved through. And now suddenly you have that spark, like you said, in the last 5,000 years. Things have evolved so fast. How does our brain even kind of keep up with that? It's kind of hard. Like maybe our brain is just lost.
I think it would take at least a while.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, we can get it as advanced as we want and have all the technology that's smarter than us that can calculate things way better than us. But like evolution takes its own place.
Yeah,
You can't-
even if you have things that are calculating, right?
Yeah.
But but if your brain doesn't have the ability to comprehend what it's calculating, how does it even calculate that? You know what I mean?
It's like we made things that are smarter than ourselves.
Yeah,
To know
exactly.
things that we don't know.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Right. Because I've actually read a lot about that link between this crazy rate of evolution and depression, that our minds aren't ready to be just sitting in front of a computer or have so much information coming into us constantly. We weren't built for that. Our brains haven't evolved for that.
I mean, our bodies, we're not built to sit all day. Like
Yeah.
our bodies are meant to stand all day, not sit all day. Like,
Yeah.
And so many problems come, like heart disease or obesity or all these other things come from things that we created ourselves, because naturally we wouldn't do that. Naturally we would hunt or make our own food. It wouldn't just be how we made it. Like you wouldn't sit in this chair. You would squat down completely on the floor, and that's like supposedly the most comfortable way to sit. Like
Right.
even that is so different.
Yeah, maybe a million years into the future, we might, or maybe not million, let's just say 20,000
Yeah.
years, probably more than that, we might evolve to actually be okay with these things
Yeah.
that are detrimental to our health right now because they become the norm.
Yeah, like like the movie Wall-E, where everyone is just super obese.
Yeah.
And they're just
Becomes
used to
the
it. I think
norm.
that's my
Yeah.
favorite
I was watching.
Oh man,
Go ahead.
Mo-
Yours sounds more exciting.
Moana.
Hold on, guys.
Oh yeah,
Have you guys
Lactose
seen that?
intolerant.
I saw half of it. I didn't see the rest of it.
Holy shit! So my daughter is like insanely fascinated with this movie, and I love it because for me it's all about that movie. It's all about curiosity.
What movie is that?
Moana.
Oh, I haven't
The
seen
Disney movie.
it. Okay.
I was gonna text you guys should watch it, and everyone listening should
But
watch
then you
it.
thought it'd be weird.
Huh? I didn't hear him, but but like it's just a really really good movie, man. It's just about a little girl and her curiosity, and it goes into pretty much everything that we talk about on our podcast, from good and evil, and maybe like how far will we go to find out the truth? Because maybe that journey itself is worth solving every problem that we could ever think of. So it just goes. The Rock's in it too, where he plays a god, and it's just a really cool philosophical movie, and seeing my daughter being inspired by it is just amazing. So literally we watch it like 6-7 times a day.
Is it Pixar?
It's Disney.
No, it's not.
It's like the Brave. It's
Pixar
part of
or
the Brave.
bust.
If you like Brave, like I think this
I
is
like
a lot.
Brave.
I liked it a lot more than Brave.
I mean,
'Cause-
it's a good movie, but you have to think that these are people creating these ideas
right.
too. So it's like they
What's
know.
their purpose?
I guess I can go to spoiler alert.
I mean, exactly. They're like you don't like they like capture you with all these ideas and stuff and make sense of it.
Yeah, but I don't think what they showed to me that I thought was wrong at all. I mean, there's two. I'm shorts in the trailer too. But if those who want to watch it, don't listen. But it's all about being in a. There's a family that lives in an island, and that's all they've ever known. So no one. The rule is you can't leave the
that's
island.
awesome.
You can't leave the island, and you cannot swim. You cannot go swim beyond the reef. So there's a girl that's gonna be the future chief, and they're I guess it's based off a Hawaiian culture. So there's chiefs and whatnot.
Yeah.
So her dad is the current chief, and she's gonna be the future chief, and he just tells her you can't go swim beyond the reef, right? But she's like, why not? There's so many things, opportunities out there. Her curiosity is saying that we should go out there, where he's saying no, you gotta stay here, you gotta stay here, you gotta stay here.
Mm-hmm.
And behold, she ventures off and goes and explores.
Kind of like Finding Nemo too.
It sounds
Where
like
is
M.
she
Night
gonna-
Shyamalan's The Village.
Sorry, but that horse looks really weird.
the face.
The face, I don't know.
These
if
are
it's
all
real.
Ali's wallpapers.
The face kind of looks like Mr. Burns, but if he was a horse.
Sorry.
But I don't know. That movie just has so many philosophical.
It's not happening.
It's all good. It just has so many philosophical meanings into it because, like, the Rock's character, thanks I was gone, plays a god, and the island, the way they perceive him is as a devil, but he thought he was doing the right for them. It's like it's just really cool, man. You just gotta watch it, dude. I'm like, wow, that's deep as fuck.
Wait, this is a kids movie?
Yeah,
Wow. Devil and Devil.
made by
Ali's watched
adults.
7 times now.
No, at least 30, I think.
Seriously?
Yeah, we
But
played
the
9
big
and day.
question I think everyone wants to ask is
kids
it
are.
better than Sausage Fest?
Sausage
Sausage Fest
Fest
was amazing.
It's Oscar nominated.
No, Sausage Fest for me was probably one of the best
I can't believe
comedy movies ever, dude. And in terms of like writing, it's a movie that I would have made. It probably wouldn't be that funny, but it would have had those concepts in play.
It would be worse.
Yeah. So the sausage probably would have been a kebab.
Kebab
Kebab
Fest.
party.
Kifta kebab.
Kubide kebab. Shishtauk. Okay.
But I don't know, man. Like Sausage Party was brilliant. Like even in the
I don't
end,
know, man. I don't think it was brilliant.
It wasn't brilliant. It was pretty generic, but it
I
had
thought it
cool
was
generic.
concepts.
Which other movie has done that?
Bro,
Done what?
Calm down, man.
I know what I'm saying it's generic, but I'm just asking a question.
I don't know.
I don't know about
I mean-
movies, but I can name like 100 podcasts probably.
Yeah, but in terms of movie, because I
Yeah.
don't know
What done what though? Like show the idea of religion or what?
the concept of beliefs, religion.
I mean,
idea,
I mean, a lot of
ideology.
movies
like,
done
so for me, I kind of have to look at it only from my perspective, right?
Right.
I think you're looking at it from like, you're thinking like, all right, if the general public did not know this and that, it's
Yeah.
fascinating. But if you already know this and it's hitting you in the face with it over and over, it's not really enjoyable.
I don't know. I feel like it's awesome. Yeah, because I guess for me, I'm looking at it that a lot of people will see this for the first time, and they've done a great thing in terms of passing this message.
So you're not
out.
looking at it from your point of view, but I mean, you enjoyed it.
I mean, even I
don't
think
know.
like when
But I laughed through it. Dude. I thought it was
I
funny.
don't think like Seth Rogen or whoever made it. I don't think he was thinking that I'm gonna enlighten people.
That movie's all about enlightenment.
No, I know, but
was.
I'm saying I don't think his idea of making that movie was that I'm gonna enlighten people and have this amazing, beautiful idea. I think he just took an idea that people are more can relate with and just made something funny.
I think
I think that part I do disagree with. I definitely think it was enlightening. I definitely think that was his goal because there were too many aspects to it where he was bringing. But my thing is, I like subtle movies, and that was just hitting you in the
things
face
that make
with a
you
hammer.
think compared to slapping you in the face with it.
Yeah, it's
Like
too
Interstellar.
obvious.
But do you understand? Like this movie was probably written while we were high as fuck,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
Yeah. So like it was made for pure comedy. It was to be all in your face and be uncomfortable and
Right.
So like from the narrative of what they had, I think it did an amazing job. Like
Ali's like Quran, Torah, or the Bible would come with a copy of Sausage Party.
all the S's are here.
Believe
Let's go to
me.
aisle 7.
Believe me. What's that one thing where if anybody says believe me, don't believe them? Because anyone who's telling the truth never says believe me. I think that was the whole Donald Trump thing.
There was
right?
Jon Stewart when he came on the Colbert Show.
Yeah.
And then he just kind of made fun of Donald Trump. How he always says, "Believe me."
Yeah.
Yeah, because they show him saying it like 10 million times.
He'll say the
Believe me.
most ridiculous thing and he'll be like, believe me.
End of conversation.
Huge problem. Believe me.
He's right about Chicago, though.
What?
Yeah.
That it's like a war zone. It's like we don't even think about it. It's just
He
like
just-
this isolated island in Chicago.
For that area, it is a war zone.
I
There's
mean,
a
he's just
person
saying that
dying every
because
day.
They call it
we
Chirac.
stopped him from coming here, so he's gonna say that.
So there's like a Kanye West song, and it's a really catchy lyric, but he goes like 320 people died in Iraq, 500 people died in
Chicago.
Chicago, yeah.
Oh, because it's Chirac.
No, that's a line of
that's a line of
the
his song.
He says Chicago instead of
Yeah,
Chirac.
yeah.
Because that area is considered as Chirac.
Well,
Does
I
he
went
even
to the
move?
south side the other day. I was trying to find some tools. I was trying to go to some random stores. I was gonna say printing, but I was gonna be like, doesn't make sense to people listening.
It's too much.
It's too much.
Technology.
Yeah, but I was going to random
Why'd you
stores.
go all the way
right?
out there to print?
No, yeah. So I was going to random stores. I've got this like resource. I was like, I'm just gonna go visit all these stores.
Need
And
more
I-
detail.
Jetro.
So I started from.
I need your business plan.
I started from downtown. I went south, and I don't really know every like a neighborhood. So I was just going to some random place. I went to some warehouse in the middle of the south side, and I was like, this is not right. Like there was no
Sketchy,
sign
bro,
anywhere
sketchy.
or like anything. There was people on drugs. There was somebody that passed me. I
Arguably
was definitely
on
on
drugs.
meth. Because when somebody's just dancing in the street for no reason, and they have like like
Meth.
yeah, and then they have spit coming out of their mouth, they're on something.
Like
Damn.
salivating.
Yeah, if you go to Southside, by the way, you will see people just on crack, just like walking the street. It's pretty normal, actually.
They're all addicted. That's why they
Just
end
sugar,
up there.
bro. It's probably just sugar.
Not all of
They
them.
just hit.
Do you
I'm not
think-
saying all of them. I'm saying that is a
No,
common
I'm-
occurrence, though.
No, I'm just correcting myself.
Oh, okay.
'Cause I said
So do you think-
that's why they're there. You know, like
No, but
like-
this is where we're from, and like,
Yeah.
I realize I can't just be driving like everywhere. I need neighborhoods that are safe and that are not safe. 'Cause,
That's like the forbidden zone.
yeah,
even
I know.
Google Maps can be like turn around.
Google Maps has not been there. Please turn around.
But so like
There's no GPS
Like
for
a
this.
patch of space that
Chirac
has,
incoming.
there's no.
So the problem, what is the problem with those neighborhoods? It's poverty and drugs, right? And because they have no other form of income.
what
so they
comes first, the poverty or the drugs?
That's why I was
I
saying.
think poverty
Poverty
came
comes
first.
first.
That's
It
what
could
the
be either
result
way.
of drugs.
You
And
can
rich
end up
people
there.
do drugs too, so I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So the drugs came first, and the rich people would.
You can end up in the
Yeah.
projects. You know.
I
Let's
mean,
say
let's be honest. Everyone does drugs. It's just that they're poor people that don't have the right resources. They kill for drugs, right? That's their income. There is no business. There's no job opportunities. So they have to.
it's all about survival.
Yeah, so they have to result in selling drugs. And if you take over my turf, my kids are gonna die. So I'm gonna go kill you over that turf.
a very extreme form of business.
It's also extreme form of suppression as well. Like
Like you keep So
those.
so you're saying you give people crack and you keep them in line.
No, I mean that whole thing started with the civil rights movements, right? You once the laws passed, you still kept them segregated, and you didn't develop into those neighborhoods. You didn't give them the right education. You didn't give them the proper tools and things that they needed to succeed as a community. You let them fail, and then you wanted them to be that way. So, and they are a byproduct of what the government and the community has set them to be.
So the concept that you're talking about right now is institutional racism.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I do definitely believe that exists, but I feel like what happens is that argument gets there's like two sides of that argument, because obviously if you just pay attention, institutional racism is real, but then it's also like how much personal responsibility do people have? So like I think Dave Chappelle has also made this joke, he's like, you can't just blame white people for your problems.
Yeah.
So I mean there's also that sentiment too. It's just that but white people are the people that brought the drugs into this country. It's just like, it's organizations like the CIA.
Yeah.
Pablo
I mean,
Escobar.
it probably all started with the government anyways, when they were trying to experiment on.
Yeah,
like,
the government
soldiers or
has
people. That's where most of it
What's
can
the hell,
come from.
yeah, because drugs are like a stimulant, right? So at the end of the day, you're trying to stimulate somebody to make them a peak performer.
Yeah, like how the CIA or whatever or FBI have played around with LSD in the 70s, right?
Yeah.
CIA was responsible for the Unabomber, I think. Basically, he was a professor at Harvard, and he was like a mathematician, I think. And he just participated in these experiments where they gave him a bunch of LSD. And what's going to happen when you just fucking dose people with a mind-altering substance? They might go fucking nuts.
And they did.
They did.
I mean, it's crazy. I think I was reading. I don't know if it was during World War II or what, where there was like a really, really rich and up and going like African American or black neighborhood, and it was like 40 blocks or something. And then what happened was just all these people just invaded and destroyed the whole thing.
What do you mean, these people?
Like white people mostly, out of racism or something. I forgot. I'm gonna try to see if I can find that. But
okay, like so if you know like a little bit about Chicago, there's a great Atlantic article that actually goes about how they actually made neighborhoods after black people were integrated, and they made shit so hard for them, like to get like a lease or to get into certain like neighborhoods. Right. And that's kind of the part of and I think it was called redlining, where you would create like a line and you would create the neighborhoods that you want one way, and then you would make it really hard for black people. They would have to have this requirement or that requirement to get
the idea
to get a
was,
mortgage or something.
Because people were back then racist, right? So if you did a black person buy a house in a neighborhood, that everyone's value would drop because no one would want to move in there. Because that's
and
how
when you're
racist,
like people think that the laws of the country can actually. I mean, they do have an effect, but the culture at the time was of that racism was okay. So those people, they found a way to get around the law, and they were still racist.
And that's just, I mean, thinking about it, I mean, now that's not that long ago,
Yeah,
that's in our parents' lifetime.
Yeah, exactly.
Our parents were like not our age, but
people from that people from that time are still alive. That's one way to put it.
And within their lifetime, so much has changed, and I mean, there's still obviously racism in parts of the world and whatnot, or even in this country. But we've come a long way, but definitely there's more to go. But that hate, the hate of another being for being different, it's just,
I think a lot about racism. I think people just need people to blame for problems.
Yeah.
I think that's really what is at the core of racism.
I sent it to you, Husband.
Exactly what
you
happened
talk
to
about
Jewish
it too if you
people.
found the headline.
Yeah, so what it was the neighborhood called Greenwood. It was in Tulsa, Oklahoma, as pretty much one of the most high or upcoming black neighborhoods. And what happened in like 1921, it was a white residents massacred hundreds of black residents and razed neighborhoods within hours. The riot was one of the most devastating massacres in U.S. history, and it was named the Black Wall Street. And it's crazy that not many people talk about it. And within 5 years, it was...
hundreds of people that were massacred?
Yeah, black people were massacred by white people.
They're probably lynched, right?
No, but I mean, the neighborhood itself was one of the most prominent. Like you see, like a really rich white neighborhood now. That's what it was, and I don't know if it was out of spite or what. They just went in and rioted and killed hundreds of people just because.
I don't know, man. How the fuck you can take another person's life, regardless of?
I mean,
what
it was
race?
labeled as Black Wall Street, but it's crazy that how much you don't hear about things like that, even in present day, when there's way more equality now than there was back then.
It's insane. I don't know, man. Like, just taking another person's life is just so, like, it's insane. And just out of hate, if it's something they've done some evil, but if it's just out of just hate and despite.
I mean, that hate and despite comes from what? Ignorance or a lack of knowledge?
Yeah, I think it's always knowledge. The less you know, the more idiot that you are. And
yeah, I just think that we need people to blame.
I mean, where does like lack of knowledge comes from? Are you
curiosity?
Are you like actively avoiding or trying to get knowledge? You know, like what if someone even gives you the answer and you still ignore it?
Yeah, if you're not curious, you don't care about the answers. If you're not curious, you don't ask questions.
It's probably conditioned. So you like arrived to your truth. Your dad told you that. Your cousin told you that. The local newspaper said something.
Like American History X.
Exactly. It's not always just lack of information, but it's also manipulated information.
So after that, if those 5 things said one thing,
but if
whatever the truth is, the actual truth is not really going to penetrate you. Because you have these like markers in your brain that justify your racist beliefs.
I wonder if like there's an evolutionary trait to this as well, or genetic, because you'd always be in war with people that kind of look different. You know, let's say Europe versus Africa or
I'm
whatever.
sure it has to do something with survival, but even then, like I don't know.
I think there is a certain element because you have to judge. You have to judge, exactly, because it was so important to survival back thousands of years ago.
I mean, you still have to judge. I mean,
you still do. Your brain will judge for you.
If someone with a knife is walking past me, I don't care if I'm a big hippie. I'm going to be careful because he has a knife on him. So appearance is really important.
Yeah, or even without the knife, you don't even see the knife. You're talking about just see the person.
Yeah, I wanted to give a more of an
like
an extreme example, but obviously. If they're tatted all over, even that to me might be more of a signal. Obviously, that one could be a false flag because that's not that.
Of course, if you're gonna presuppose or your
I'm
brain.
gonna presuppose. I'm not saying I'll be right.
The shit that throws me off is when people have like those teardrop tattoos in their eyes. I can't tell either they kill people.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm always thinking that.
I don't think majority of them is that. I think majority are just.
But that is the that is what they're saying, right?
Yeah.
That each teardrop is for how many people you killed.
So. Yeah.
So that or how many people you on your gang have died, one or the other. But either way,
at least the gang died makes sense. You're like commemorating somebody.
That's what we do on the streets of Woodfield.
That's so sweet.
It is. It's actually so adorable.
But we're just judging. If we were in their shoes, we probably would be doing the same, right? If we were given the same opportunities and didn't see any other way out, is to do this thug life, then maybe.
Well, I'm not judging that they're wrong. I'm just judging.
Yeah.
So this whole racism and this whole issue, it's funny. It's like we've been programmed with a certain amount of knowledge or whatever it is by the environment, by people, by politics.
Right.
And then you have to go back and reprogram yourself not to be like that.
Yeah,
it's hard work.
That's hard work and dedication, because it's almost kind of you're dedicating yourself to a belief of like Buddhism or something like that. Your inner self, you're trying to connect with that, because that will lead you out of this void of darkness, if you will. You know what I mean? And then I kind of wanted to talk about, like, through our text messages before, like they were having some like last week I remember getting a haircut. We were talking about consciousness, and some of the conversations were pretty damn deep, and I think we all had a different view and how our brain is structured. I think you felt like I feel like there's two eyes. There's the eye that's talking right now for me, and there's a subconscious eye that's behind me that controls the things, and they both are in inner battles a bit, deciding of who is really in control. And you had a different take on it, where you felt like where there is only one eye, and the second eye, I think you said something pretty crazy. It was pretty cool. The second eye it's a creation of the first eye.
Yeah, I mean, I meant that you think that there's two different people, but it's only one brain, and the creation of the second you, the conscious you, is created from the first one. I think
Every time you say that, I just fucking laugh because it's so deep.
it's like unconscious reality. I think is untapped potential, untapped power. Because like unconscious is more your dream, like something that you would dream of, and if you think about it, we can dream of anything. If you like, you dream of people's faces to the perfect degree that you've seen for a millisecond or something. It's that untapped black power is so big that creating a second self is pretty much nothing.
Yeah, it's not really that big a deal. You could have like 3 or 4 cells, and people do have that.
Yeah, there's actually research that when you pass a person down on a street, you see him for a millisecond, you don't remember who that was, but your brain records that memory, that image.
Yeah.
In your dream, every time you see a face of like people that you're passing by in a dream, those are actual people you've seen in your lifetime that your brain has stored and has put in their body, you know?
Have you guys read about what dreams actually are? Like the recent research, what it shows is that so when you dream, it's like your conscious mind wakes up in the wrong state, where when your brain is actually cleaning up, it's like it's filing. It's like filing away and putting things in order, and you wake up in between it, and your brain is like, "Whoa, there's something that's conscious is observing," and it just puts all those pieces together.
Like one thing watching somebody file.
It gives you something so you can make sense of it. It gives you a story with all these glitchy pieces, and you dream these bizarre things.
Dude, to go into that, like a perfect story to that. I think it was like 2 days ago. Yeah, Friday night when I was sleeping, and I remember waking up because my daughter woke up like at 7, so she woke me up. But it was the funniest shit ever. Like at first, like I woke up and I was trying to put this shit together I couldn't understand. Then I started laughing out loud. Like, so what it was I think it was us, and we were in downtown, and we were all in our own cars and shit. And I think we were trying to get back on the Lakeshore Drive ramp. But all I remember is picturing is that we're on a road and we're trying to make a left into Lakeshore Drive and get on it, right? And I just remember people honking at me, like, and I turn around, I'm like, you know, what the fuck are you honking at me? Just wait. And it was crystal clear. It was sunny, it was bright, and I could picture every car and its detail, and everyone's just honking at me. I don't understand what was going on. Then I look around, and I'm like confused as shit. Then I realize I'm sitting in a chair. So then what I did is I picked up the chair and I moved to the side, and I'm telling everyone to go like this. And then I'm trying to picture. Then I was honestly, I'm like being like serious as fuck. I was trying to figure out in that dream what's wrong with my car. But I'm sitting in a chair. I'm like
you were like, you wake up in your dream and you're not wearing any pants or something.
so as I'm trying to figure out what's wrong with my car, I'm trying to hit the gas pedal and it's not moving. Then I remember like you guys passed me. I'm like, I'll catch up. Go ahead. And I'm still in my car. And then I remember my daughter woke me up, and I get up and I'm like, "What the fuck was that all about?" Then I went to go use the restroom, and as soon as I come out, I started laughing out loud. My brain thought that I was in a black leather chair, like a really nice one. That my brain thought that was a car and plugged it in, and it was so trippy that one part of my brain thought that it was a car, and the second part they knew the physics and laws that there is no gas pedal, there's nothing that's moving. So even if I'm trying to hit the gas pedal on my brain to move this vehicle forward, that is a fucking leather chair, couch or whatever it would stop moving. So like, I don't know why I just thought it was so entertaining. My brain had a two-way glitch. One that it gave the notion that it was a car, and the other one where it didn't give the physical elements to moving it in that reality. Right.
And dreams are bizarre like that. If you've ever noticed, like I always remember this, like in dreams, like you remember that you were in a black, beautiful, like leather chair or something, right? You remember that detail. And if you were to remember this, like studio, you would see all these details with pictures and this and that, flowers, lighting, but you pick up a magazine and look at the text, it would all be gibberish.
Blur. Yeah, it would just be blur.
Because that would not be remembered by your brain.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because I can kind of recall sometimes when I'm reading a book in my dream, well, you can't recall the text. It's just gibberish.
There's no text there.
Yeah. Your brain is filling it in. It's like you just see a bunch of cursive and shit.
And that's the same thing that happens when you have a stroke. Like when you're having a stroke, you will start to like look at a piece of like text and it would just be gibberish. It would no longer be comprehended by your brain.
Your brain's trying to survive that stroke that can no longer compute and put this data together where it just blurs everything.
Exactly. It no longer can process that text, but it can understand it can still see, it can process all the visual information.
Yeah.
It's crazy what our brains can and can't do.
So then, and then it just goes to like how many times is our brain lying to us throughout the day, right? So like there's a lot of illusions that happen in our life and throughout our day, and the biggest one to show you how much your brain tricks you is close one of your eyes and you all of a sudden see your nose, right?
Yeah.
And then you if you take your one hand and close one of your eyelids and leave the other one open, all of a sudden your nose appears, like you can see your nose, and you take that, you remove your hand and you open both of your eyes, your nose disappears because your brain doesn't need that information. So the nose that you have, it'll fill it in with other parts of the things that are closer to it. It'll say, okay, this is what it should look like. You don't need to see your nose because it obscures your view in front. You need to survive. You need to be able to see everything. You know what I mean?
That's pretty dope, man.
Yeah. So like so within that process, as we're walking, when we see things happening out of like the blue on the right or left of us, how much of our brain is stitching things together that are not there versus what's really happened.
Yeah.
Someone, let's say a fight breaks out and you're looking straight and it happened to your absolute right? So you couldn't see it in front of you. Your brain will stitch things together and goes, oh, that guy started it. Maybe you are wrong. Your brain just perceived. It's happened so fast that your brain just cluttered and put things together.
Yeah, now you're
know?
getting into kind of like that whole area of metaphysics.
Yeah.
Because the whole function of your reality is just to survive. It's not to find out the truth.
Yeah.
And that's kind of crazy because when you do go searching for the truth, how true is it really? I mean, we do use outside instruments to understand that,
Yeah.
but if your whole function of your brain is to observe survival mechanisms, survival truth, what if even the real truth you're seeing is kind of being perceived
Subjective.
by that brain?
Yeah.
And that if it's subjective, right?
Yeah.
Is it being affected by that?
So
is
I
it
get-
being filtered by your brain?
So this is where scientific method comes in play, right? So that truth, that subjective, should also relate to me. So if it relates to
Yeah, but
everyone
you're-
that's doing a test, so let's say even if that's subjective, then that is some sort of reality. Then until a counter proof comes to say otherwise, if an alien lands tomorrow and says, "Well, the sun is not yellow; it's actually green," so then you deeper dive into that truth, and then either he's wrong or you're wrong. And
Yeah.
you know, until a new
Well, color is definitely subjective. So,
Yeah.
but even then, when you talk about all the humans, it's one human species. We're all here to survive.
Yeah.
All our brains are built for survival. Everything we perceive is for survival.
right.
So until you get an alien to come here and look at things, they
Then
might see something completely different, which would be nuts.
So then that is a fact, right? Fact is something that you can observe and is true for someone else. If I go out and say the sun is yellow, and if it's also true for everyone in this room, is that not the truth?
It is the truth.
For all you know, let's just say in the actual absolute truth of the world or the universe, it's probably purple, but within the human civilization is yellow.
It's true
So-
to the knowledge that you have.
Yeah.
I would say, yeah, exactly. There's layers of truth. So it's true until you get some other perception. It's
Yeah.
true for human perception. But
It's
you
true,
might
yeah.
never get to absolute truth. How do you get to absolute truth? You would have to literally be the universe itself looking at itself and being like,
But
yeah,
no, not
But
even
you are the universe
but-
looking at itself.
yeah, but we are limited by our perceptions. Our perceptions don't see the full truth. I mean, you can look at a mantis shrimp and it would see the world completely different, and it has access to more light
But
than
even
we
the,
do.
but even the universe itself has limits. It cannot see the beginning. It can't.
It can't see its own birth
No, it can't.
unless it's
so
always
how-
existed.
So it can see probably things. If
Unless that's not its birth.
Yeah. The
Then
big
what
bounce.
would it be?
The big bounce.
I'm
bro.
saying if it was always been and always has been,
Yeah.
there's no
So
birth.
there's two things, right? Either it always
Birth is a concept that we made.
or did so. So then it goes to philosophical question: then where does everything come from? Or it always has existed? How is that so?
I mean, but you're putting your reasoning on it. Like,
Yeah.
this is our understanding of what something is. That doesn't mean that that's how you.
Yeah, I mean,
figure something
Neil
else
deGrasse
out.
Tyson says it best, and we said it a lot in this podcast too. That the universe is not there for us to understand, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we can, but I'm still gonna try to understand.
Yeah, absolutely. You still want to try.
Yeah.
You want to see how far you can get.
Yeah. So what I struggle with the most is I want to plug a God in this thing, but then my biggest thing is who the fuck created God, or how did God come to exist? And there is no satisfying answer that I can find. and because of that, there's a God cannot be the Almighty. The all.
But
You know.
a counter to that argument, let's say somebody who was here before science, like they would say the same thing as you.
What?
Like how does this thing happen? Science cannot answer it, so I believe in God,
Right.
and they just live their life like that.
Right.
But then, you know,
and then I believe
I'm saying this is all before science had answers for everything.
right, which is fine. But then you can also kind of tell them that before science, there were many questions unanswered. And then science answered them, and then God started to fade away from those questions. Like, God of lightning, why does lightning happen? God is mad. No, now we know. Why does it happen, by the way?
Because he is mad.
By the way, Thursday is my favorite day of the week.
Why?
God of Thor, Thunder, Thursday.
Interesting.
That's what the Thursday means?
Yeah.
Oh.
Sunday
Thor,
is Sunday, God of Sun. Monday is Moon, God of Moon. Then I
God
lose.
of 2, Tuesday.
God of 3, Thursday.
So Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday are the ones that I always get confused. They're not really planets, but they are catered to planets. But they are other gods. Like Friday, I think gods like Friday or Friday.
Fried fish is like very popular on Fridays for some reason.
Yeah, I guess.
Fish fry.
But
It's like a special on Fridays. at a
the
restaurant.
three easiest one I remember is Thursday.
Fried fish.
Look, an
Friday.
answer appeared right in front of us.
Saturday, Saturn. The god
Google
of Saturn.
is God.
Yeah, Google. G-Day. So Monday is what?
So
Moon
we're-
Day, like we said. Tuesday
Tuesday.
is... he's
Damn.
The Day of Honor, Wednesday, Odin.
I like Odin.
Ooh, I like Saturday. The
Thor.
day,
So the
Saturn's
movie
day.
Thor is named after the god of Thor.
Yeah.
Thursday, which is pretty cool.
I mean, Odin is his dad, so
Yeah.
Wednesday.
Oh yeah, what's that god on Friday? I can Frigg.
Frig.
Yeah, it's
The
god of
Norse
Friday.
goddess.
Saturday is Saturn's day.
So these all sound like they're,
Cater to planets and shit.
yeah.
Romans,
yeah.
Roman names.
Yeah, it's all pagan in a way too, because you've got all these gods, different
Yeah,
gods
different
for
So yeah,
everything.
so it's beautiful, right? So when I go to work on Monday, and someone says Happy Monday, I just giggle inside. Like these guys don't know what they're talking about.
That's so weird.
I think this is what
So deep inside, like Happy Moon's Day to you too.
You're stupid. That's what it sounds.
this is where you draw the line.
You stupid people.
The Moon's Day, huh? That's interesting.
Monday.
Monday,
Moon
the
days.
word after French. It's pretty cool.
Lundi.
Lundy, what? What did you say?
Italian, that's the name of the Monday. The Anglo-Saxon
Oh, it
Monin
sounds like
Day.
a curse word in Urdu.
Lundy. Sounds like Lundy Genki or something.
But yeah, so
Lundi,
like
Lundi.
even like the names of our months are pretty damn cool, and then if you like study that and shit.
And then
so.
if you go into the chemical, the periodic table, it's got cool names.
Yeah, periodic table is pretty deep.
There's cool names everywhere.
Like all these things have meaning
Yeah,
that
so,
we don't on our
We were talking about this in
yeah
the car.
on the way
day-to-day
here.
life.
On the way here, I'll let you explain the Latin.
And so, so a lot of people study Latin if they're trying to become doctors or something, or if they're trying to get into a, for example, let's say the medical field, they learn Latin, but there's no use to like learning Latin because it's not like an active language. But what you find out is that a lot of the words that we have, like let's say biology, right? So the ology means the study of. So once you learn Latin words and basically root words, you can figure out what like a word means. For example, monoxide, you would be saying mono meaning one, oxide meaning that oxygen is getting oxidated, I guess. Or like words like that, or like, psychology or pathology. So you find out that for example, psychology is so psych, I think, is mind. Ology is the study of the mind. So if you learn those root words, you can learn like what things actually mean.
So it's pretty deep.
And the history of them.
That's very cool.
Yeah, the root word. So like when you told me that, like, yeah, you're right, because when you read chemistry, there's different like
Yeah, so it's not one
chemical-
word. It's like multiple words
they
combined.
combine,
to make
and
that.
that's how the word came to be.
Wow.
It's all through Latin, and I feel like I've learned this early on in high school too, but like English,
Yeah, you just kind of
is
forget.
my weakest subject, and it just flies by me. But now when he was mentioning on the way here, I'm like, shit, yeah, you're right, because every word is just a sub-word of some other thing that means, and they just combine it together, and that's how the word comes to be.
There were some creative people, huh?
Yeah.
Combining words. Now it's like looked down upon when you combine words. Like, that's not a word. It's like creativity is like looked down upon.
Now, like Drake is the one that makes up the words.
Does he? Faux shizzle.
That's definitely not Drake.
That's Snoop Dogg.
Wait, why is creativity looked down?
No, I'm just saying, like, nowadays in like in just English or any language, or actually let's just talk about English. When you combine words in writing, it's like looked down upon. Like, that's not a word.
Oh, like
that doesn't make sense. Why
like that slang.
Yeah, that whole slang thing. It has like a bad look to it. Like,
But like, if you think about it, a lot of words came from slang. Like, it's like we stopped inventing language. That's how it feels like.
Yeah,
so everything new was like, oh,
like
that's
this,
slang.
like this is like the absolute truth of words. We can no longer create any more words.
Yeah, like we can't create any more words, and if we do, well, that's slang. You can't use that. That's only what the young kids are using. But eventually, it comes into like everyday use. Like maybe thug. Well, back then it was like, oh, what the hell is that? Oh, that's like a person or gangster or something. But now everyone uses it like it's normal. So like every word that comes into play it comes from different places. We just don't treat it as actual language.
Yeah, the word actually has its own history. It's got a life of its own.
Yeah, and words have so much power. Remember that whole Phil Jackson thing with LeBron James where he called it a posse or something?
Yeah.
And he made it was like a big deal. It was all over the news. Like, LeBron didn't really appreciate that. Like, it was a racist remark.
LeBron saw it as like a racist remark, but for Phil Jackson, it's just a normal thing that he uses to describe a group of people.
Yeah, and then LeBron is like, well, he's been around a lot of black athletes. He should know that.
Well, so then what's really happening is that there's two people who are, or the dispute actually is intention. So LeBron sees Phil Jackson having actually a bad intention. He's trying to come at LeBron's race by saying posse, but Phil Jackson might just be thinking, it's just a word I use, man. Chill out.
Yeah. And then you look at it from a universal point of view, like, man, food's way too easy to get nowadays.
Yeah, way too easy.
We're worried about these things. Like, man, he said posse.
Yeah.
You know?
Because you're not worried
sometimes
about
that problem
starving.
is just so retarded.
Yeah.
You really have to, like, remind yourself.
But it's like, oh, it's big to me. Well, yeah, it is big to you. But
So that comes back to the ego.
yeah, like, okay, it's big to you, but in the general sense.
But don't I matter?
But
Like, my feelings.
I don't know.
Only I matter, not you.
That's why, like, I feel like information is so important, right? Because if he could see what Phil Jackson, if he was in wrong and he's saying that, then
I mean, but how would you get that information?
How would you find out intention?
How would you be like, oh, Phil
I
Jackson?
guess you could ask him, but
tell
then
me
he'd be
the
lying.
sit down with me and tell me the truth. Like that, you can't get information. Like information by itself is not the answer. It's,
So then
it's your understanding of other people, or
So is his reaction wrong then? If he can
no, I'm saying it's how you understand, or you might take other people's word not for exactly how it is, or it's your you can kind of control your understanding more than you can get the knowledge that you need.
And then what point of view do you look at it?
Yeah.
Because there's like information clutter right now. When you go on Google, you can find millions of answers to anything you want to know.
Mm-hmm.
Which answer is the right answer? Is there a right or wrong? I mean, it's so difficult to really to get the truth, essentially.
Yeah, it's like
on any situation.
Let's say LeBron was having a bad day, and then he heard Phil Jackson say that, and he's like, "What the hell?" And then he just tweeted something. And then even if LeBron wants to change himself, he wants to take it back, he can't, because his ego might not let him take it back. So he has no way but to stick with that. Like,
right.
That's how I feel.
He's like piling it on.
Yeah, and if you go back on your words, then you get shit from all your fans for going back
so
on
like
your words.
that's a huge thing, right? Ego. Like sometimes it would suppress the truth only to make your ego survive, because you don't want to admit to someone that you were wrong.
Yeah,
not LeBron. I'm just saying in general.
So
a lot of politics.
Yeah.
Like that.
So one part is ego, but it's also like, for example, like
Fuck
if
ego.
like if you're always
That's your ego talking.
if you're always trying to be honest and you get something wrong, you might not want to tell the other person you got something wrong, because you might want to stick to your honesty.
It's also
you're
like,
always honest. You want to stay that way.
It also has to do with being embarrassed or being
embarrassed. Yeah, exactly.
You also kind of lose your credibility.
Yeah, that's the word I was
because
looking for.
the next time you feel that, and the person might be like, "Man, I don't trust what you're saying."
Yeah, because you messed up once, and it also does plant the seed of doubt into them, because
Trust,
they're like, well, yeah, well, he kind of messed up there. He can mess up again.
And that's really unfortunate. I was watching the recent Dominic Cruz, who's a UFC fighter, who's been
on
winning.
Joe Rogan podcast.
Yeah, and it was one of the best podcasts I've ever listened to, watched, whatever. And he's been winning for 10 years until he lost to Cody. And he talked about how he's really spiritual in a way. He was talking about how he deals with loss. And the moment he lost, he kind of just manned up to it and realized he lost, and he didn't want to make any excuses. And he talked about how if you make excuses and you cover up your deficiencies, then that loss was a waste. You don't learn and grow from it. So similar to any situation where somebody else makes a point and you don't agree to it, and you're just like, no, I'm right, and it's just about winning, then you're wasting that opportunity to grow. You're holding on to your belief, even though you kind of know it's false, just so you can win.
I mean, isn't that what a lot of politics is? You stick with the wrong just so you can seem right. Like Trump will lie just so he doesn't lose his credibility to his following. Because if he comes out and says, "Oh, everything I've been doing, it's bullshit," I mean, then what is it all for then? It's the ego, it's the not wanting to be wrong, it's everything combined.
You're right.
I mean, this happens so much in politics that it creates so much bullshit between everything.
Yeah, which is sad because politics, it was invented, or the system was created for the people, not for the egos of those politicians, where they're like, oh, I'm right, this is great, I'm gonna keep spouting whatever shit I want just so I can win in these debates and just look good.
Like before, I think it was like, I don't know, that most of the politicians or congressmen would come from different fields. They would come from either businessmen or they would come from different sides or different majors, but a lot of them come from political science now, which is pretty much what lawyers use. Yeah. Like, it's like, in order to be a politician, you have to know and manipulate arguments or know how to talk, but that side of it brings so much like back and forth that you just become
a lot of I guess a possibility for doing things the wrong way. Evil.
Like all you do is find loopholes to win your argument.
Yeah,
that's what it's
for. Politics is not really the search for truth, right?
Yeah, the human progress is not the formula of their whatever argument there is. It's I gotta win my party's argument no matter what. We can't lose no matter how right or wrong we are. We bought into the system. We gotta defend it, and that's what pisses me off. Like, at what point do you say that this argument that we're having is incorrect? But then I don't know if you saw Trump's speech to the Congress.
No.
His first speech.
It was very scripted, that one.
Yeah,
the one where he acted very presidential.
Or if you've seen any president, even Barack Obama, where you have the Republicans sitting on the right, you have the Democrats sitting on the left, and if you had Obama saying Democratic value things, and all the Democrats will get up and they will start, they start applauding, where the Republicans don't get up and they don't applaud. And then if he says something that's based on the military, everyone has to get up and applaud.
It's so many rules.
It's so fake, dude.
It's so fake.
Because then you might get a photograph of you not standing up when you're talking about the army.
Yeah, it is so fake.
It was funny because I don't know if you guys were watching it, but I actually watched that one. And,
I watched it too.
There was this one moment where Trump he says something about the military. So I told you guys about that operation that happened recently where
in Yemen.
Yeah, in Yemen, where that military member died. So the person who died, I think his mom was there.
His wife.
Yeah, his wife. Okay. So then he's like, he talks about her, and then everyone starts clapping.
Yeah, and
it got really weird because nobody stopped clapping.
Yeah,
it became 30 seconds, and everybody's still clapping.
No, it went into a minute.
It went into a minute. It got really weird.
Because no one didn't know when to stop, if you will. Because
he just kept clapping.
It's in the Constitution.
The Democrats do we stop when they stop, or do we stop? We became one of those weird.
Who stops first?
Yeah.
Whoever stops first is evil.
Yeah, that's what it came. So they all kept clapping,
and then it died down, and then some asshole started it again. And then they're doing it for another minute.
And then Trump was like, you know what? How I know that he's happy that he gave up his life for his country or something like that. He's like, because he just got the longest receiving applause of ever in the history.
That's the same way they did the whole health insurance plan. They're like, look at our plan. It's like half the size.
Yeah, you saw that
It's
shit.
better because it's like nothing there.
No, because you say this is less government.
Less government,
More
yeah.
book is more government.
Yeah.
What
But
the
like,
hell?
yeah, it's just so sad. But like,
Everything's a placeholder.
but
in there.
what sucks is that poor wife that was there that was actually mourning husband's death. Is that he used her as a tool, if you will?
Of course,
you know,
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and she was
But
there, and
but
she was
let it happen.
emotional. Like, you know, you can like get mad, you feel for her, you connect with her automatically. But obviously, politics don't give a shit about one person and who died.
And to be honest, I bet she was really happy by it that her son died, but then he gets the
wife,
standing ovation.
husband.
Sorry, husband died.
Yeah.
I mean, like what his whole life was just meant a 30-second applause. That's like sad
Yeah.
as shit.
It's sad, but I mean, I feel like you're looking at it like negatively. His life was worth
It wasn't.
entire
Though.
the U.S.
He would rather
Congress.
live than get clapped.
I
for
know,
a
but I'm
minute.
just saying. At least that sounds honorable. That
I don't
he had
think
a
it's
son.
honorable. I think it's all. I mean, it sounds
No,
like it's
I mean,
made up.
from a mom's point of view. I'm not talking about from like an average person's point
How
of
do
view.
you know?
Husband.
She can just be happy or smiling for the camera. She would like. I don't know.
No, she was.
Well, I mean, I go to the root. Every mom is wants to be proud of their kid.
Are you talking about his wife or are you talking about his mom? Because his mom wasn't there in that thing.
It was his wife.
Yeah, you
But
keep saying,
even his wife, I would say that like you're proud of the people that you love. You like to be. I mean, you get happy when they do stuff well. You're like, yeah, dude.
Or maybe
you
she
know,
thought
my
that
sister did this or my brother did that.
Yeah, but I'm saying maybe she thought that he died for a wrong cause too.
Yeah, or
I mean,
his
that's-
dad did. His dad questioned the whole call to begin with.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, he's really. If you
said
look it up, he's really against it. Like my son's death was unjust. Like where's the? He's asking for an investigation, and then Trump, like Bill Maher said in the last week's episode, like he's the first president that said that he blamed the generals. He's like, don't ask me, ask the generals. Like that's on them. It's not on me. But the president has to approve what the general says them, right?
yes or
Yeah.
no.
So this guy died. I feel not bad pulling his name up because we were just talking about him. We should mention.
But
his
how
name.
many other soldiers or people died just for nothing like that?
Yeah.
And, like he got remembered. What about all the other people that did?
all
Or
the
did
all the what's it called?
His name
Undercover
was
agents.
William Owen.
Yeah,
William Owens.
there we go. That sounds all right. Yeah, but like how many undercover agents that go killed that don't get recognized because their mission was more, you
Yeah.
know, it's fucked up.
because they were undercover.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
what-
like you felt like it was she was using it as a tool and
Oh,
a
of
prop.
course, yeah.
Like and what sucks is like to Omer's point, like they were applauding to see who will stop applauding less. They were not
It's like a
applauding.
filibuster.
Yeah, they were not applauding to oh this guy really
Yeah.
served us. It did in the beginning, and it became like okay, when do who stops first, the Democrats or the Republicans?
It's almost
stop?
as fake as when like Kim Jong Un was it? Is that the father? Kim Jong Un, whatever, man. I'll look it up. But when he passed away and everyone like had to fake their mourning, it's almost like that kind of fake.
I mean, I wouldn't say it was that kind of fake, but there were some people that were probably had good intentions. But as long as it went, like what I'm trying to say,
Yeah, that's what I mean.
yeah. But like it kind of became like which party stops first clapping, you know, like
And it's sad. It's
So-
like so scumbag.
because now his life is not worth more as who stops clapping first worth more,
Yeah.
you know, like that. It just gets sad, dude.
How do you change that? You know, like
Kim Jong Il.
when you think about it, when you look at all the people in power, the whole game of politics is just geared. The system is just geared towards people that want power, and people that want power and are just built on lying. I mean,
Yeah.
they're psychopaths.
Do me a favor, watch that speech, not just for the speech, but just the way the system is set up. It's for me, it's super depressing, man. Like going to your point, like what you're questioning is like, how do you fix that? Like I look at that, I don't see a solution.
I don't think
I don't see
can't
it
fix it.
because like all you see is he says, "Oh, we're gonna build a wall." All the right starts clapping, and the people on the left are clapping. Like this is so stupid.
Like,
ass
why are
system.
we doing this? Like, who
Yeah.
are you doing it for? Everyone can see right through it.
Yeah, it just seems so
No,
fucking.
I don't
fake.
think they can. I think that's the point. A lot of people cannot see through it, and they'll be like, "Oh, did you see
That's
that
a good
standing?
point, too.
Did you see that standing ovation?
Yeah. Yeah.
That was amazing. President Trump called him out. He paid respect. So
Yeah.
I think most people are a lot dumber than we give them credit
Like
for.
that CSPN, the conservative convention that they just recently had like a few weeks ago. when you
CPAC.
Yeah, CPAC. There we go. When you see that, you see all the people that feel that, you know, how we feel about Trump. The people that don't feel the opposite about Trump are in there, and they talk about the same ideas, and they talk about us thinking about Trump. They are wondering why we don't, you know, think about them like that.
That's
way.
the bubble that just got burst when he won.
Yeah. So like you see them applauding ideas that you like build a wall. The whole crowd like you know, like applauding and shit. Oh, the media sucks, or CNN's this. Everyone's applauding like crazy and cheering. Like, you know, to some regret, to some parts you can relate to, but others, like, you know, human progress got to come first, regardless of what values you hold. Like, everyone's equal, and equality matters more than anything. I don't know, man. It's just depressing. Like, I've been like sucked into this whole Trump thing, Trump Nation, like a soap opera, if you will. I'm always tuning in, trying to see what the hell.
But that's what the media wants you to do, right?
I don't think the media wants me to do. Just Trump is just so radical that I'm just curious.
I think they do want it.
No,
the ratings.
Me honestly, like, I'm just so curious what he's gonna say next.
I mean that Trump loves that. He lives off that. Like the media pretty much created him into what he is, and then now it's like, what can you do now? So just keep promoting him and keep getting ratings and keep like it's if you stop showing stuff about Trump for a month,
people like me,
how much change will happen? Like,
yeah.
But then you also have to show the scary stuff he's doing.
No, I'm just saying just the idea of just stop talking about Trump anywhere in any news outlet. It's impossible, never happen.
I feel like everyone wants to do that, but he always
like what changes might happen if he does his job like everybody else does their job.
But this whole shit with
and
Russia,
it's not televised.
As soon as like he gave that speech and he kept to the teleprompter or whatever it's called.
Teleprompter?
Yeah. People felt like, oh, this is his first step to the right direction. You know, even I saw I'm like, man, this guy kept to the script. He did not go segue into something else. But this whole Russia thing that keeps coming back. Because soon, like 4 days,
keep firing people.
You know, 4 days later, another Jeff Sessions got came up in light that he lied under oath about the Russia thing. Like, there's something where his whole party has communicated with the Russian ambassador.
He probably did himself.
Too. Yeah, and they all lied about it. There's some sort of connection there that is kind of weird and bizarre, and I'm sure it's gonna come to light sooner or later what it is. But it is treason if they are communicating with him or them before he was elected president, right? Because they're making side deals before he even became president.
Well, it's treason if they made the side deal. It's not treason if he spoke to them.
Yeah, it is treason if they spoke to them, because you're not supposed to speak. If you're a candidate competing, you cannot be communicating with other ambassadors. Like, what? Why would you communicate with another ambassador?
There might be business interests, and I mean, just talking.
So
to
the
them.
business interest is also a conflict of interest, right? Like, all there already is with his empire, the Trump thing. Why would you want a president that has business conflicts within? Like, he's the president. He has a business empire.
So, I mean, you can spin it either way, right? But how do you, I think the fundamental problem is, how do you build a system that doesn't allow egomaniacs like that to come into power? Because right now the system is geared towards that.
Right.
How do we change that?
Or are humans is geared towards that?
So
Or are humans is geared towards that?
No.
Think about because Donald Trump is the alpha. He'll solve all your problems. He'll fix everything. He's done it before. You know, he's got that kind of vibe to him.
He hasn't solved.
No, he's giving it a picture of what people want or what an alpha is.
To Z's question, I think the thing will be to invest in education, proper education, where you don't bring religion in play.
I think what happens is that we picture something perfect and we put it into place, and then what ends up happening is that people that manipulated it and change it and try to use it for their power end up being on top. Because they cheat and lie and steal.
Like a really good law, but some guy finds like a loophole, uses that law to get himself in power. And
exactly, but that's the whole system. It's power. How do we take power out of the whole equation? Do you take humans out of the system? Do you depend on a computer to make all these decisions to be in power?
I mean, but can a computer have empathy?
Well, they're already testing out computers that can work manager level jobs, because people always say you got to have somebody that runs the computers, but they're actually already testing the idea of having like a computer that is actually your manager. Because
That's
so it makes the right decisions because it just feeds off data. There's no politics involved.
Yeah.
I feel like has anyone had a teacher that taught them the things that we know now?
Of course.
You did? They've taught you that to explore, question the universe, or like
Not to
to
that level.
like the philosophical level where you're like, holy shit, like guys, like, you know, everything in terms of the video of belief that we made. Have there's anyone teaching us that in school where we should question our own curiosity, question our own beliefs, question the universe, question everything, question me as a teacher? You know, how do you know that what I'm teaching you is true?
Definitely.
Have we had, if not in high school, in college, have we had these deep intellectual thought building processes? Because I think that's the key thing. Like, in order to fix any of this, is to shatter our brains of our preconceived thoughts that we have and programming that we have. There should be a teacher or a class that tells you, okay, now everything you ever knew was probably wrong, and here's why. Explore your mind, explore your thought process, explore where you came from. If you came from this part of the country, why is it that you believe in this religion? Study the history of that country. Go back 10,000 years. What rulers and religions have came into play that resulted in you to believing what you believe, you know, and study the other parts of the globe and world, and then combine everything together, you know, like look at the big picture. Like I never had that class.
I don't think most people. I don't think majority.
There.
Of people
I don't think there is any class like that in our educational system. If you put that in the equation, I feel that should solve some of the things.
But if you put that into the equation, what will happen is the system will dictate what happens to that class or that's something specific. It can't. The way the school systems are set up now is it's either you fail or you get rewarded by doing a robotic process. It's not. You can't plug something so complex and something so meaningful into that system because that system will corrupt it.
But what is the right picture? Like if we were to start a country tomorrow, what would we want? We would want, I don't know, I feel like I would want our students to be curious, right?
You definitely want students to be curious, but I'm thinking that even if you have a whole country of curious people, well-educated people, but still, if the system is geared, the political system is still geared towards
But they will
money
fix
and
that.
power.
But they will fix that because they will run for power.
But still, the people that are running for power are
Won't let them.
attracted to power and money.
Yeah.
right. But
How do you get smart people that don't care about money, that
it's
don't care
fixing the
about
educational
power?
system, I think.
But I
But
mean,
why would they go into that system?
To teach them and to say that our world has these issues, and in order to fix it, is we need young people that are looking to fix it, and then give them the proper tools to.
But the whole system is a worldwide system. You can't have one specific country doing it completely.
It starts with our country. It
I
starts
know.
with the city. Starts with the state.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
you can say it can start with the county, city, state. Then you work your
but
way
what
upward.
what ends up happening or has happened in the past is that the system overtakes it and corrupts it back again.
Yeah, that's
Because
something-
it's so overpowering, it's
It's
so strong that something that idealistic will not survive for long because the system just corrupts it.
there's something about money and power, right? That
Yeah.
Wait, do you think right now, even in our corrupt system, are there people? How many people can you name that are just in it for the good of humanity?
Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren.
But Bernie
Or
Sanders,
true.
what happened with him is that people said that he sold out in order to get out of the race because they offered him like a big ass house or they offered him a lot of money to bow out.
If you
and
look
not
at-
compete.
But
If
he
you look at his
vowed,
tax
he
returns,
lost.
Yeah, if you look at his tax
No,
return.
what I'm saying, they said they offered him stuff, and there's big reasons for him.
No,
for
but
what
if
he
you look
did.
at his tax returns through his, I mean, he's like some 70 something,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
If you look at his tax returns from all.
Why would he change it now? That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I'm saying
No, I'm not saying he would change it now. I'm saying that
You're
there
saying
was
it did happen, or you're saying they offered it?
no, that it did happen.
That he sold out now?
No, not now. Before he was running completely fully. I think I forgot what.
Oh, so you're saying before? Wait, sorry. Can you?
Yeah, I'll try to pull it up on the thing so you can.
So that
look
you're
at-
saying that before he was corrupt and then he became good again?
I'm not saying he's completely like
Yeah.
Bernie Sanders is not like there's not. I don't think there's one idealistic person
Yeah,
in political power for us to look and be like that's
what I'm saying is like he released his tax returns from like X amount of years, there was nothing in there that showed that his income has increased.
When he was running for against Hillary, that's what it was, I think.
So my point is, even out of the hundreds and hundreds of people, even if you name 2 of them, let's just say they are for humanity, that's an extremely small percentage. And that tells me the system is not geared towards that kind of person.
But a country is not geared to science anyway. It's geared to pop culture more than anything.
But even forget science. I'm just talking about humanity, what's doing good for people and not whether it includes science or not. It could be other things as well.
To your point, like Republican Party is a party of Jesus, right? And they themselves will bend over backwards to sell themselves for lobbyists, right? So a party of Jesus will go that far and do those things. So if the people that have the to our conversation earlier about journey and destination, if these people have a book that says that there is a destination of heaven, why are they going out of the way to sell themselves and the country? Like, if they can't do it, to your point, like how do I know that anyone can, right?
Right, take this for an example. Imagine the entire United States is extremely educated. Mm-hmm. Would Elon Musk run for president? I don't think so. I'm talking about how do you attract those people? How do you build a system where people like Elon Musk want to run? So you start
off like if I was Elon Musk, or
like, why would he want to control and dictate the country? Why would he want to do that? He doesn't, obviously.
I mean, people who want humanity to do well and who want all over human condition, they don't necessarily want to be in power.
Exactly. Right.
They don't.
Exactly. That's
the
my point.
The people who want to be in power are the ones who'll do anything to get it. Mm-hmm. That's why they're there. So the whole system is messed up. So how are you going to fix it?
Education, right? I think if it's not education, then what's the answer?
But if you change education, you have to change the reason why people are getting an education.
So, like, maybe people like Elon Musk needs to start scholarships. Who are the future politicians that want to run for politics that don't have the opportunity? I will fund you, but they'd
rather do like science or something.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. You have the educated population. Imagine it's all educated. Why doesn't Einstein or Elon Musk want to run for president? And they don't want power.
Yeah.
So how do you build a system that doesn't attract people that want power, but something else?
All right. I guess part of the solution would be first step forward will be end lobbyists and that fucking side money. I think that's the first step because that's what colludes.
I think,
but even then, why? I think that's just one aspect, and that's a factor. I don't think it addresses the underlying question, right?
It does. But I think that's at least a first step.
But it is a first step. I agree. Yeah.
I mean, how else? Because then you get at least people.
But what's wrong with lobbying?
Because people with more power will come and play.
But lobbying for stuff is okay though.
Well,
I mean,
lobbying for
let's say
cigarettes is okay.
Okay, lobbying for anything, again, lobbying is just a thing. You can use for good or bad. That's what I'm saying.
But it's mostly used for bad.
Right now in the current system. But let's just say a group of people really want to do something. They want to change their, let's just say the cause is for good. Mm-hmm. Well, they have to get a bunch of people together. Mm-hmm. They have to have representatives and they have to lobby, right? Mm-hmm. I'm just talking about,
But right now,
you can't just yell and just write online.
Right now, you are right. Yeah. So it's not exactly that you want to take lobbyists out. You want to take money out of politics.
Yeah, there we go.
Money, that's fine.
Because right now the
that's
lobbyists.
What's wrong with lobbying, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. But the problem is when lobbyists get together that have a lot of money from corporations, and then their agenda gets pushed forward.
So I was thinking about this earlier today. Most ideas are good, like even lobbying is good. The thing with humans is we come up with these ideas like education will fix everything or these theories, right? And then we implement them. And then humans find a way to fuck it all up, meaning they find this extreme version of it. Like I think about marketing a lot because I'm in it. I'm like, well, it can be good or bad, but if you think about that, but what's usually reported and talked about is the extremes, like the bad extreme or the good extreme.
Yeah, or it's like a constant struggle. It's a constant evolution. Like everything starts off with good intentions, it seems. It's a good idea. The American government was a great idea, and then it got corrupted and changed through time. Yeah. So it's a constant evolution, and you got to keep working against it.
Yeah, that's why I don't understand where there's parts well, people, oh, that's in the Constitution. Like, yeah, cool that it is, but if it can progress us forward, why not change it? You know, like it's not set in stone.
Yeah, it's like religion.
Yeah, it's not. It's not a religion. It's not a. You know, it's.
It is a religion, actually.
Yeah,
almost
for most people. Yeah,
it's the final word.
I'm probably gonna be getting deported tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah, isn't it crazy? If you go against the Constitution, oh shit,
you're a terrorist or something.
that's blasphemous.
Yeah.
Not if the president goes against it. If only we go against it.
Yeah, billionaire, it's okay.
Yeah, it's okay when you have money.
Yeah.
Shit. So
Really?
problem 1 is to get money, and problem 2 is to take money out. Of
But money
politics.
is if you take the motive, money is the biggest motive. If you take that away, what's left?
Yeah, then how do those corporations influence you if there's no money involved?
So what is in our genetics that caters money more than values? Like, what is that?
Survival, power, like he said, it's power. Money is power. You can do whatever you want. You can
you can
rewrite
buy
the Constitution.
resources.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's funny. Like when people talk about like the Second Amendment, it's always like they always talk about the interpretation and the meaning, but they never say maybe this was just a bad idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I
It's
think
like
about too.
you know, you're right. It's like blasphemous to talk about that.
That's what I
Right.
think about too, man. It's like it's weird.
Like, you know, it's not like God wrote that. It's just a piece of paper. Some really
Bunch
smart
of
guys
men.
wrote.
Yes.
But then you're unpatriotic then.
Yeah.
I mean,
You
you,
should.
you even got to question things that God wrote on paper. So
Yeah.
it's a
What's a
Constitution
man?
You question
200
that.
years ago. Surely you can.
Well, they
question
also
that.
say that the
Guantanamo.
Constitution comes from Christianity, or it comes from
More
Judeo-Christian
values,
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
So it does kind of come from God for them in some ways.
But
I
times
don't know,
change, and you
man.
gotta continually question everything.
One just has to question the origin of their belief, and then you just find how colluded it is. Like, you know, like you only believe what you believe because that religion went through that war, some empire took over, and that's why you are who you are.
Yeah.
Any slight differences, you would have been completely different. You know.
Yeah.
Any slight differences of where life originated on Earth instead of Africa, and let's just say started in Russia, everyone would have been white.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like those color differences of like being in Africa results like your skin being more darkened and so forth. Like, I don't know, man. If everyone just questioned their own beliefs, like,
Yeah. I mean, the brains that wrote the Constitution, that wrote the Quran, did it in an age when they didn't know what atoms were, when they had no Google, they had no internet, no phone, no planes, nothing.
The era that thought that slavery was okay, we can't question that Constitution.
Yeah.
The people, well, George Washington himself had slaves.
I mean, the world
Like he was
has-
okay with slaves,
Yeah.
and
They wrote
and
helped
he-
write the Constitution.
and yeah, he wrote the Constitution to help write it, and he was a leader of the free world.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
it
like,
was as free as it gets back then.
yeah, but not for black people because
No.
you're black. You were sent here from God to be slaves.
Yeah.
Well, which is weird because if you are religious or something, Jesus was never white. He was brown.
Mm-hmm.
It's in the Middle East. No way in hell is Jesus gonna be white.
Someone said like the funniest like meme ever, like because you know how like in America you see these Christians, evangelicals or whatever, on that
hey.
on the far left or far right. Sorry, I've been sipping.
It's very offensive.
But you see them and how they see Jesus Christ, and then how they see refugees. Don't realize that the same people that they're saying are refugees that we should not help are the same people that Jesus Christ came from. Like he came from like Syria and
Jesus was Middle Eastern.
Yeah, he was Middle Eastern, legitimately. Like if he was a refugee at this moment
You
in
wouldn't save
time,
him.
your laws would not let him in.
Right. Yeah, it's true.
You know, like your beliefs are like, I don't know, man. People are just a joke.
That's a good sentence. People
Yeah.
are just a joke.
The world has changed so much in the last 200 years, but we cannot change a piece of text that those people wrote.
Because
It's bizarre.
yeah, it can't keep up with his own time.
It's got to be rewritten. Everything has to be rewritten.
Why does anything have to be rewritten? Just leave it. Like, just don't write anything new.
Because
I mean, not necessarily write anything new, but don't give, because times, even 100 years from now, people will look back at our text and say this is so primitive.
Yeah.
And like,
Or listen to the
But that-
podcast and say
wait.
we're idiots.
right, but that's the whole point. That's why it has to be rewritten, because it has to be or just written again. You have to constantly
Keep
rewrite
changing,
things.
yeah.
Keep changing. Yeah.
or not give it, like not give the constitution like godlike powers or
Yeah.
something. Like people can't even see it. Or
I mean,
Yeah.
back then when it was written by the man that we all preach and applaud are the same men that thought that women don't have the right to vote.
Yeah.
yeah,
Like these are how far we're trying to go back and preserve because these people were so great. They had the right thing in mind.
like Benjamin Franklin had like syphilis or something. He had like two black slaves as like to just like have sex with or something. So
Yeah.
like it's
We're applauding these guys like in this relative to our time. These guys are monsters, if you
Yeah,
will.
it is exactly. I
they're-
mean, the only constant in the universe is change. Think about that.
yeah, that's true.
And that's what we gotta. I mean, it's a fundamental law of the
Change
universe.
change is the only constant.
Right.
Always.
What's that one? I don't know. One of you guys said some deep. Yeah, change is the only constant. I think that's one of you guys said that. And I thought about it. I'm like, no, it's not, because not everything changes. Because okay, we can get even deeper into. Because now those memories are coming back. I used to think like when you say the change is the only thing that's constant in the universe, are the laws of nature that make the universe not constant then?
Yes. So here's the thing. Evolution wasn't like if you think about the law of evolution, it's been changing over the billions of years, right?
Okay.
Life has been evolving, and the way things evolve has changed. Even if you look at the universe, like for instance, the fundamental laws of the universe and how they've split up into all these different laws, they were all one at one point. And now you have magnetism, you have electromagnetism, they were separate. Gravity, all these things were all together, now they're all separate.
But
So everything
but before-
evolves,
but-
even
but-
the fundamental
But
laws.
before that, there were laws before that. Are they changing, or those laws
Are
are
the-
constant and they allow the formula is the laws the first the very first laws themselves are constant. Anything therefore after is not constant.
Well, you can only go as deep as you can, right? And we can only go to the point that we can observe. And we know that all the laws of nature were all one. And then they all separated into different laws. So we know they evolved and changed. The laws themselves changed.
But so what you're saying is that before there was no magnetism or something like that, and then
Before there was anything, it was
yeah,
just
I know,
laws.
but are laws being created by the action itself?
Well, all the laws weren't there at the same time.
No, I'm
Certain
saying
laws,
let's
so-
say before anything there was gravity, and after gravity there was magnetism. So until magnetism happened,
No, I mean, they were all together. Because, like, if you can look it up. So magnetism, electromagnetism, it was
yeah.
all together.
the strong nuclear
Gravity.
force, weak nuclear force.
Yeah, it was all together.
So,
and now it's been separated
so does
into
a
different
law?
forces.
But
Does a law happen first, or does the
so that's what I'm saying. So T-1, which is before the Big Bang, those laws I'm talking about, those have to be constant, no?
We don't know. That's the thing. So we can only talk about what we know. And we know that...
But we don't even know about the Big Bang and so forth. But just philosophically speaking, T-1 before the Big Bang, there was laws in place that allowed the Big Bang.
Yeah, but we can't even, I mean, until we can talk about before the Big Bang, we can just talk about just that nanosecond after the Big Bang.
Right,
And we
but-
know that the laws of nature have evolved. They weren't constant. They changed to what they are today.
Yeah, but before that, it had to be something before that, though, right?
but do they get
Yeah.
changed, or does stuff just get added onto them? The laws of gravity, will that ever change, or will that have a laws of gravity plus one?
So you go to the fundamental.
So that's not really changing the law. That's just adding on to the law. I mean, or adding a different law on top of it.
I guess we can read into it more.
I'm still working on it.
The five. I've been sipping. What are the five fundamental laws?
Electromagnetism, the strong nuclear force, the weak nuclear force, and gravity.
And there's
That's
one
four.
more.
I think it's a 4 laws of no.
No, it's
I don't
five, dude. It's five. I always forget the fifth one. It pisses me off. I know it's a strong, weak, gravity, electromagnetism. Is it thermal?
No.
Thermodynamics?
No, it's not thermal. Just do five fundamental laws of nature. There we
Five
go.
forces of nature?
There we go, yeah.
4. See, what are the 4? I told you. Gravitational, electromagnetic, strong, nuclear, and weak nuclear.
So it's not five? I
Is
don't know
it-
why
so
I got the number
dynamic-
five.
It says the 5 forces of the, oh no, that's fifth.
Oh, okay, so that's what I should be looking up actually. So we're all the 4 forces of nature. Because you aren't talking about the laws. You're talking about the forces actually.
Yeah,
at work.
sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Maybe look up if the 5 fundamental forces or 4 change or evolved or something like that.
No, they don't. That's why they're fundamental.
I mean, but that's what I mean. So can it ever change?
If it changes, then it will change the whole reality of the universe. If you say
So that's what I'm saying. If it doesn't change, then not everything changes.
Let's say if the gravity just decides to be slightly different tomorrow, we're saying the whole universe is going to change tomorrow. The reality that we know is going to change tomorrow. Like everything's going to get affected by that law, Like that's why they call fundamental forces.
Right, they're fundamental, but what I'm saying is they were all one. All these forces were one
they
force.
started from they started from the Big Bang, so they would have been one.
So when they separated, you wouldn't call that changing when they separated and became their own thing in a way.
Well, how I see it is,
but then it's not always changing. It just changed once.
Yeah, but they did change. I was just arguing that he said that change isn't constant.
I think it might be creation rather than change. Because if something is changed, if something is created that wasn't there before, it's not a change.
The way I see it is T-1. These are the constant laws that exist that allowed everything to come thereafter, and those things can change throughout time. But T-1, wouldn't you say that has to change? Otherwise.
Well, it depends. I mean, any change is change. Like, wow, what do you think change is? I would say it's any kind of change. Gravity got so weak. It used to be stronger when the Big Bang happened. It got weaker. It changed.
Yeah, I mean, that's just like how when the Big Bang happened, like based on our cosmic background, everything was a lot hotter, and it started cooling down. Right? That you could say that has changed. The fact that it started cooling down allowed gravity and other forces to come in play. If it was that hot, it would not allow these other forces to come in play because it's just too damn hot,
Mm-hmm.
The fact that that temperature drop allowed gravity to come in and play. When gravity came into play, it could have allowed other chemicals and other things to come in play as well.
Hey, maybe look up where the 4 fundamental forces won at one point or something like that. I think
they would be T-1. Before the existence itself, before the forces became to be, they would have to be one. There has to be a super explosion, and that explosion is so hot where nothing can exist. And as it cools down, it allows these other forces to come to be.
So why is that not a change?
I'm thinking about T-1. That can't change. Because let's say you're creating a game, right? You create a game and it's all zeros and ones. So that game creates the structure of everything that gets created in the game, right?
Right.
You change that code, everything else gets destroyed.
Sure. But here, my argument is that we can't observe that right now. Until we can.
Yeah.
So until then, you can't say that, hey, you know what, change isn't constant. Because as far as the proof we have right now, we kind of have to say that every change is constant.
You can say it either is or isn't in that logic then.
But I mean,
you can't confirm. You can't confirm or deny.
Well, I mean, you can.
Is change constant then?
But hold on, you can confirm with current evidence. Because if you can't confirm something with current evidence, you can't confirm anything in the world. Because you can always say that there could be more evidence tomorrow. Then nothing is certain.
But let's just talk philosophically then. Do you think if you were creating a game called the universe, and T-1, you set up the whole codes and structure, but when I hit play, I'm setting up all these laws. I have no idea what's going to happen when I hit play.
But if the Big Bang happens and then it comes back eventually and turns into itself, the laws were always there. It just keeps repeating itself.
So, from what I can find from the chronology of the universe, the forces were one, and then they split up. But then that one thing, so in the epoch stage, the universe is cool. The strong nuclear force becomes distinct from the electroweak force. So they were separating slowly.
So it was one, and then they separated into 4?
Yeah. T-1, everything was one.
Mm-hmm.
Before the game is ever created and you hit play, everything is one. Because you say, okay, everything's 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. This is a code. And I have no idea what's going to happen when I hit play. And when I hit play, these laws and rules that I set in place are going to come to be. I have no idea what's going to happen.
Yeah.
As soon as you have play, boom, everything starts reacting. But it's reacting within the laws of these nature, the laws of these codes that you set. It cannot do anything different than the rules that you set it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you're saying the laws are constant.
So T-1 is constant, and everything after is not constant.
But you can't say for sure they're constant because later on, what if you find out that it's something different?
So then you have to go T-1 of that. Like
no, I know what you're saying, but I'm saying so you're saying for now they're constant.
So let's say if T-1 is a computer.
I mean, we can keep going back forever.
No, okay. I'm saying T-1 is a computer, right?
Yeah.
Is that computer gonna change into a car?
I got a little bit of an answer that
Go for it. Relativity comes in play.
Yeah, that basically that they're hypothesized that the four fundamental forces were one, or they had the same strength. So it's not that they were one, but they were actually symmetrical. And it says some have likened it to a sharpened pencil standing on its point. So it's just perfectly symmetrical. So it's not that they were one actually. They were still all
have
four,
the same,
but they had the same
strength.
symmetrical power.
Wow, that's interesting.
So they were still there. They were just equal.
Yeah, they were somehow equal, and now they're not as equal.
Yeah, because one is stronger or weaker.
Yeah.
So they evolved in a way.
And in fact, the strong nuclear force and the weak nuclear force are so much stronger than gravity.
Yeah,
like their strength is crazy.
Gravity is the weakest force of all.
Strong nuclear force.
But gravity was very strong. Like you said, they were symmetrical. They were all equal.
Yeah, so gravity, quantum gravity, or whatever they call it, would have been stronger at that time.
I don't know. I just feel like T-1, everything cannot change. You can't
I don't
change.
really.
I mean, I totally agree with you. We don't know, but that's uncertain things, right?
It's false. It's not falsifiable. I think
Yeah. So how do we come to a conclusion with something that's falsifiable?
Yeah, it's like one of those things we can't disprove either way.
Yeah. But we can prove that the laws of nature kind of did change.
No, I'm not saying they didn't change after, but they're
Or the forces, sorry.
They're changing within the codes that allow them to change. They can't change anything out of that code. That's absurd. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like for me,
that's assuming that there's an actual code.
There has to be a code. Otherwise,
I mean, that doesn't have to be a code.
Then how does everything come to be?
But there could be multiple codes. Like even if I
maybe
go where you are,
maybe even the code could just make itself better after it starts.
It could be infinite code, but there's a code.
Even the code could be self-learning and evolve. Everything that I know.
I don't get what you're saying, but what you're saying has no answer to disprove itself.
Yeah.
You know,
it's just philosophical.
You're like saying that basically.
I said it like
that's like our understanding of what it might be is like that's not like something that you can argue against.
And then even
how do you know that the universe was not created last week? How can you prove that?
Yeah, very difficult.
All the memories that you have are just implanted. That never happened.
Yeah.
The movie Dark City.
So, but even those memories are T-1 were created in some sort of code. They cannot overtake the code.
No,
I agree and get what you're saying. I don't know how to respond. I guess.
But
you
I mean, okay. So even the code. So you're saying the code. I mean, okay. First of all, you said nothing exists as one in the universe, right? No, I understand what you're saying. So if you go to the point, because you bring it up that nothing exists in the universe as one.
Okay.
So right now, your code is almost like a god. It is the one. It's the beginning and the end. That's kind of like how the perception I'm getting. But
then
as far as we know about the universe, everything evolves and changes.
So does your game
even
evolve?
The code.
Does your game evolve that you're creating? You're coding it, right? So it cannot do anything outside the code.
But you can't use the game as that.
You can. You could as a philosophical level.
Actually, you can. So there's this. Okay, so for instance, let's talk about Zelda: Breath of the Wild. One of the best games ever, guys. So it has something that people call emergent gameplay.
Okay.
There's all these systems that the director of the game created and the designers, and they have no idea what it's going to do when they interact with each other.
But they coded it though.
That
code allows it to do that.
Okay, so they did not code it actually. They did not fundamentally sit down. Okay, so they did not sit down there and code. Okay,
this needs to happen here, but
this will happen. They didn't code that exactly.
But the AI was coded before that.
But they coded the if then logic statement codes.
Okay, so they didn't even code that. That's what I'm saying.
How did it just came to me?
I know. That's what I'm trying to explain. What you guys are.
That's why the game is so amazing. It's
It
self-learning.
was made when the Big Bang happened.
I'm intrigued. Go ahead.
So, okay, let's take one example. So, when you create a fire, it burns the grass. Yeah. And when you burn the grass, it creates a wind.
Right.
That's all they coded into the game. But a player can actually go and use that wind and pull out their glider and just fly upwards. that was not coded into the game as an interaction. It just happened out of emergent gameplay. When two things...
But that was coded. I can argue otherwise. Because they didn't see that they were doing that, they created the laws of nature to allow the glider to freaking do that anyway.
But they did not. They did not actually code that interaction. That if you use your glider on top of the wind, you're going to glide upwards. They did not code that. That just emerged out of interactions. Because everything is connected and interactive.
But he's going to say that interaction was also coded.
Yeah.
How was it coded?
Because what happens is that it's not like the game. Like if he takes his sail out or whatever, he's not gonna go flying out of the game to somewhere else.
Is he gonna come out of the TV?
Like it's still gonna be in the game. It's still the game itself. It's not.
I mean, I agree with that. I just don't know how to respond to it.
I just don't see how that the code wasn't set. Even if the AI is creating codes on its own or rules on its own, it's still the AI is still coded to be able to do that.
Follow codes that were originally coded.
Let's just say like an AI can control the entire universe, each atom. It's still going to be stuck
but it's
in
still
this universe.
coded to control the universe.
But so here I go. My formula always collapses when I go T-1. Okay, now there has to be X amount of codes, and these are constant, right? So then you guys say, "Oh, that is God," and I will say, "Yeah, you're right. That is God." But then who created that? That's where my everything collapses.
But then you're not talking about the thing itself. You're talking about something outside of it. You know, like let's talk about the game. No, let's talk about the person who made the game. You know?
But then who made that person?
I know, but
who made that person?
That takes away from the thing of its own. But that's amazing that the game can actually even do that. That's like mind blowing. How did they even have that happen? That doesn't make any sense.
So it's called what's called emerging.
How come that's
emergent
not a
gameplay?
How come that's not a bigger news thing?
I guess Nintendo doesn't advertise technology that much.
Crazy. That's like the biggest thing to ever happen in gaming, and it's like not even.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I didn't know that. Now I get that part.
Yeah. So I just want to go back to that point one last time. I agree with what you guys are saying, but I don't know. Maybe it's hard to explain. But for instance, if I was to... No, I guess I got to go back to that example. I can't think of a better one. But like when you talk about coding that interaction, nobody sat down literally and sat and he's like, okay, when somebody comes to a place of wind, code so that when they take out the glider, they will fly upwards. Nobody actually sat down and coded that. It just happened out of the interactions they created. It just happened by that.
So here, I can argue that, right? T-1, I set the laws of everything to allow that game error to happen to begin with, right?
But then I can also go back to your T-1 and say that there's emergent stuff there too. That somebody might not have coded for things and they just happen.
But then who created them? Then that's my argument.
You can keep going, and then I can say the same thing about that.
Exactly.
It's a loophole, but that's kind of like
you would have to go to a point where you. So then, when we keep going, then it's just an infinite scale of universes and realities and gods and figures and that come.
But then your claim that there's no God or that you don't really believe in an Abrahamic God can also fall flat in a way. If you always want to just go back to a point you can't observe.
I said there's no Abrahamic God, but I always can say I can't or prove or believe there isn't an actual God, and those gods could be T-1, where there are just codes. But then, like I was saying earlier, where my brain collapses is what, where do those codes come to be? Who creates those codes? Because someone has to code that code, right?
I think.
Yeah, but I get his fundamental argument that fundamental thing, whatever it is,
it can't change.
It can't change.
Because if it changes, then you destroy everything.
But my thing to that is like that fundamental thing is what brings life to that universe. So obviously, if you change.
I'm going to go to one fundamental truth that we all know of, that every matter particle that was created, there was an antimatter particle. That was fundamental. That happened forever.
How many times have atoms
That might have happened for an infinite amount of times, right? Infinite amount of times.
It's a question I'm asking. How many times have atoms have changed? I can't think of that many. Or I think atoms have been since what they have been from the beginning till now. Because atoms create the fundamental reality that we have also, right?
Yeah.
Atoms haven't changed.
How do we know? We never observed.
Is there something?
Have we observed beyond the atom? Like instead of
atoms create other chemical reaction and other forces.
Or
that
maybe
could
they do
but
change. You just can't see at that level.
Wait, were all the atoms there during the moment of the Big Bang? I don't think so.
Everything's made out.
I think
of
that
atoms.
all matter was there during the Big Bang.
Yeah.
I think that's debatable. Can
yeah,
you-
I think here. In
It's
fact,
actually
I
debatable.
have the chronology right here of the universe.
This
Here's
is
the
the truth.
explanation of the universe.
We're like debating for no reason. All the answers are right there.
Everything's there in Google. But what's cool about us debating is that our thought process is running, right? And which is cool, even regardless if we have right or wrong intention, is that we're asking the right questions. And maybe our listeners can follow that path and get their right truth answers. You know what I mean? Who's reading this?
All of us.
I was waiting for someone to
Here
read
we
it.
go. I found the part that I was looking for. Oh shoot! There's so much. Triggered by the separation of the strong nuclear force.
Okay, so
So first of all, now I know. I just remembered what it is. Before it was just quantum fluctuations. Then those quantum fluctuations gave rise to like particles, elementary particles, and then I think those turn into like atoms or photons and then atoms.
And it looks like they even, I mean, even before you get to atoms, you got to get to quarks.
Yeah.
So the atoms weren't there at the beginning. I mean, they were there, but not at the instance of the beginning of time or the Big Bang.
But has atoms changed ever since?
I mean, they went from quarks to atoms, right? And that's what it looks like they're saying.
But,
so they weren't just atoms.
but
They
that-
became quarks, then it led to atoms.
Right. No, you're
Everything
absolutely
changes,
right.
bro.
But
Here,
for some
I got a
reason,
visual explanation of
for
this.
some reason, atoms have not though.
No, wait, they have.
Hold
though.
on. So this is where we
No,
start from.
they changed from the beginning to atoms, but atoms haven't evolved.
Here, look.
Not yet.
Look here.
But they did in that
No,
instant.
no, I don't know if you can see my mouse, but here's atoms. So
Where?
this is like the universe, right?
So atoms formed, so they weren't there before.
Yeah,
yeah, so they
they-
formed.
So how
So
have
they-
they not changed? They have changed. Yeah, they
It's
haven't changed
it's
since.
something
They were
formed.
atoms, but they haven't changed.
Hold on. So is something formed the same thing as changed? No, it's not. I don't think it is. I think you're mistaking something being formed to being something changed. Like if something was there, if something was not there and then it was there, it's not change. It's just creation. It's just something forming.
Yeah, but atoms weren't just atoms. They were quarks, and then they became atoms. So you can go even smaller than
But
atoms.
how do you define change? Change is
I
one
feel like
thing
there's two
being
definitions of change
one
right
thing changing into something
Yeah.
else. It's not one thing being created by something else.
But
So
the
quarks changed to atoms, but atoms have not changed.
But
Okay.
the fact that quarks changed,
I mean, I don't agree with that because I think quarks and atoms are
Two
kind
separate
of
things.
two separate things.
Yeah.
I feel like the definition
I mean,
of
I
change
mean, if
is
you-
what's being disputed here.
it's like
not really,
it's like smaller matter changing into something bigger. I get that part. Like if like the
So
sum
it did
of
change, yes. So something.
the sum of let's say this mic is made out of different metal. So that metal changed into this mic. I get that part. I think I get what you're trying to say in that part because something smaller like quarks turned into atoms. That's a change in itself. I get that.
yeah, there's something new. There's something new
there's
completely.
Exactly. So you can almost say that the atoms were quarks at one point. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then there's probably something smaller than that we don't know of.
That we
and
don't
then
know.
and then the molecules used to be atoms, but now they're molecules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, don't
Read the
don't,
part about
wait,
T
don't-
minus one. See what it says
Don't.
about that.
Wait,
I can go to my T-1. I can go
are
to my
molecules made out of atoms?
Yeah, so more than two atoms is one molecule.
Yeah.
So molecules are just strings of atoms. I'm almost sure.
Yeah.
But
But it could. The thing is that if you go down to cells, to molecules, to whatever, it can all be one thing. We're
Yeah,
just
so-
labeling the each level
that's
of
what I'm
that
saying.
thing.
T minus one is all like that. That's
Okay,
that
so
hasn't
this
changed.
bottom part here, if you can see
It's
my mouse,
question
is
mark.
T minus one.
It's question marks.
But the question mark is, so this is T right here. This is the minus one.
So T minus one is everything is constant within the laws that is constant of, and
Oh, this is a really cool
Well,
image, though.
You know, if you go to the Big Bounce theory,
yeah,
this whole thing, this cup up here, starts again right down here.
because it's
Yeah, it just turned into.
yeah,
Back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah.
Change is forever.
yeah.
Pretty cool though to
But then
see
what
the
allows
beginning
that,
of it
though?
and see where we are. Like you see the top of it, this is where we are, and then you see the bottom where we started.
It's a soup. It's a
So
soup.
yeah, it's like
It's
a
a
soup
melting
that was
pot.
boiled. Yeah, literally a soup that was boiled, and then came this. That's pretty cool.
I don't know, man. I just
Yeah, it's not that cool.
I
I
guess
see something better.
I guess my end thing is that I agree with you that there's that huge possibility that everything was just one and it just was that fundamental thing. but there's also the possibility that it's not. And that we kind of got to go by, I believe, that what we can observe and know right now.
So just thinking of that, I hope that's not true, because if the fundamental laws of themselves are changing, then we're saying that our reality of the universe will change dramatically for over eons and eons. And that allows for life not to be part of the equation, if you will.
Sure. This could be the one universe where life can somehow arise.
Yeah, but not for that long, because it's constant. Like the fundamental laws that create everything are also changing. If you're saying that, then okay, think about it this way: if even a fundamental law of T-1 changes even by 1%, all of that changes, like all of it. You're saying everything will change, because if that is also changing, everything of all, even if it is a big bounce, even the next big bounce will always change.
So
1% will change dramatically. If we're saying in the beginning of the big time, the Big Bang, when everything started to cool down and gravity finally came in play, we're saying that 1%, if it's changing, the gravity will not come to existence, and then everything will
But
collapse.
I'm saying,
and
like,
float away.
what it is it's like, it might not change at that moment, but it might change later on. I mean, of course, at the really most important part of it, if there's an incremental change of even like a millisecond or whatever it might be, it will change everything. Yes, but that doesn't mean there isn't change throughout the whole process.
Yeah, and
gravity got weaker, different things got...
Yeah, but within the laws of nature themselves, right? They came first, and then they allow everything else to change within it. You can't change the thing that allows you to change.
Okay, so hold on. I think when we
Yeah,
say
I agree with that,
when we say change is constant, I'm not exactly saying that change is constantly happening, but that it happened at some point.
I know. I agreed. Like after the Big Bang, everything is changed. But I'm saying before that, you can't change that. You change that, you destroy all of this.
Or you could create a different universe.
With different laws.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the laws.
So let's say at T-1, there's an incremental change of 1%. So the whole universe after that.
But that takes you away, though.
I know, but I'm saying that maybe the next universe will have different laws.
Wait, what's wrong with taking him away?
Wait, what do you mean? What's wrong with taking me away?
I want an equation where I exist.
So that's
I mean,
that doesn't mean it's true.
So this theory is based on chaos theory. I think that if you change one little thing in a system like this, it would change so much. It would change exponentially.
Let's say it goes back into being as smaller than an atom, everything, and something the law changes and everything else changes. I mean, that's a possibility too.
Yeah, of course. It does. It's just a Big Bang and it collapses right back. It doesn't allow the universe to be and exist in the way it does now. But majority of the time, people say
there's probably universes like that.
They could be, yeah. But within the laws, so the laws of nature could be infinite, and universes are popping in and out of existence
with different laws. I mean, it could, but it's hard to say for sure because this is the only one we know.
Just philosophically in my brain, I just can't comprehend that the laws themselves that create the universe are also constant. If that is, then that's terrifying.
The universe is not there for you to comprehend.
Yeah, it's not. So let's say if it is changing, it's terrifying. Because then that means that we'll never get the answer. That fuck everything, dude. Like,
yeah, that was one of the things in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's like at the moment you figure out the universe and what it means, the universe changes itself.
Yeah. And you know what? They were wrong.
Yeah, but I don't think it's change. I mean, even if it is, it's not like there's change happening right here. But even if it happened in the beginning, that's still change.
So, okay, does God change then? Let's just say if my understanding of God is just...
what Z is saying is that change is the only constant.
No, so I keep...
but the constant is
God
changing.
Change? Okay, you believe in God, right? So is God... Would you follow that logic then?
He doesn't.
What?
No.
This is just like the dinosaur
saying,
bones that were buried by God thousands of years ago.
I'm saying, like, with that logic, do you feel like God...
What are you saying? What's the question?
Do you think God is constantly changing?
God is constantly changing?
Yeah.
You know why? Because I think I'm God. We're all gods.
I mean,
we're all changing.
What if God is changing it constantly?
Jeez. That's a good question.
Why? I don't get it. Why is change such a detrimental thing? Why
'Cause it
why
could
do you
destroy
why does
the-
everything have to be constant?
Because it can destroy all of that.
It could, but it could though. I don't
But
understand that.
and it will.
Yeah.
Entropy will. That is change.
Yeah,
But
there you go.
that's how it all
changes
ends.
System.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know if you want there to be a law for it to all make sense. Maybe that, or you want to maybe the law itself is your God or something that you
Yeah.
don't want it to change.
I don't see change being bad. Like, you know, I
I
just
mean,
see,
we're
I
the
ju-
reason
I
that
just
we're
see-
here because of change.
I just see T-1 that
Exactly.
I don't see that changing. I don't
You
know.
just hit it on the nail. We're here because of change. Look, it doesn't have to be good or bad. In the beginning, what was constant? That every matter particle created an antimatter and they destroyed each other. That happened forever.
Yeah.
Until there was a change. And there was an extra matter
But the
particle.
change was allowed. So yeah,
That extra matter particle
agree.
created everything, and
Dude,
then
I agree.
and then entropy, change, disorder is going to
agree.
destroy it all again, and then it might start again.
Within the laws of T-1.
It's like
man.
someone is having an argument, and
That
then
was
you
the
add
worst.
your own argument outside of it.
I just want
That's
to
the way
say,
I see it, though.
look, but
Yeah, you're right though.
No.
The thing is, what he's saying is like you can't argue against it. It's like me saying there's a God. You can't not prove it. So he's
But-
right in that
okay.
sense. It's like it's not.
But you're not disproving the other person's argument. You're just
Yeah.
adding on to
I
it.
agree.
I don't know,
do
man.
agree with that. But I'm just saying you can't disprove T-1 or God or T-7.
of course you can. So then,
seven is definitely wrong.
so then why? That's exactly the point. So why even go there?
Exactly,
I think
yeah,
it's
yeah,
an
yeah.
unfair
Okay.
argument because
Okay.
you're bailing out by just
No, I'm
saying
not.
like-
Okay, I can explain that.
It's like you're wrong, but
Okay.
also you're ugly.
no. Hey,
You don't need to add on to it.
no, I could explain it because then you have the bigger burden of explaining where everything came from. Then where does T?
But he doesn't know the like, not, we don't know the
but then
answer.
you can't claim that it's all constantly changing. Then you have the bigger burden of telling me that what is T before if there is no T-1.
What has changed to you? If something changes from antimatter to matter,
I'm not saying there isn't any change. I'm saying T-1 is not changed, and everything after that is changed.
Hold on, no,
so
the
you
bigger-
have the bigger burden of explaining me T-1 before.
Hold on. I wanna dispute that also. Why? Okay, because I think the bigger burden's on you. Because I'm talking about things we can observe and actually know.
Right,
You're talking about things that we might never know.
right.
because they're not reachable. It's like outside our space.
So then you still haven't answered why hasn't Atom changed?
I think it has. I would
To
say
what?
that
Two
from
cells.
a quark
Or
to
Oh,
an
there's still
atom.
atoms though.
Or maybe they will
I mean,
change.
they are still atoms, yes, but that means they're also still quarks, and that means they're also still whatever's below that.
So they've like evolved, which is change. No,
Yeah.
Exactly. To
Again,
me, that's change.
Unless I feel like we're just not
It's like
getting the
it's-
definition
it's
of
like
change
saying
right.
if you're a baby and you're a man, there's a change there. You
Yeah.
still
But
have
still the
atoms.
baby though.
You still might act
that's a
like
very good one.
You
But
still
the-
might
but
act
the-
like a baby,
but the
it's
atoms
still-
are
But it
remain-
is change.
Yeah,
the atoms
exactly.
remain the same though.
That's a beautiful point.
But then the baby is not the father. The baby is not
Thank
the
you, bro.
the father
Thank
because-
you.
the baby's not the father.
this this topic is pretty strong.
This topic is quirky.
Science joke.
Oh man.
This topic's always changing, dude.
I feel like we just
Take
changed. We changed the definition of change.
Dude, take this picture away, dude. It's like
Yeah, please, Hassan.
put on the nature one again.
I literally fell asleep and woke back up.
Go
and still
away.
on the set.
Dude, distract us with something else. All right, so I was going to talk about darkness and the absence of light. Never mind.
Dude, save it.
Yeah, I don't think we're ever going to...
You know, I really want to have a discussion more on this T-1 thing.
Yeah,
because
I don't know where that came from. I thought it was a you guys already knew about it beforehand. or
I think T is time and
something. I know,
-1
but
is, right.
I thought you
T
guys.
-1's before time -1. What was there before?
Yeah,
that?
so time -1. Yeah.
And my point is we don't know, and we might never know.
Yeah, so then.
So let's talk about
so
things
you
we
can't-
can.
Yeah, that's how, it's easier to talk
Oh,
about
man.
things we can or that
President
we know
Trump.
of.
So
President Trump. Trump did something.
Because if we talk about hypotheticals, where do we get really?
is it really hypothetical? Like, where does everything come
Yes,
from?
it is hypothetical because we don't know the answer.
You're talking about what happened before creation. That is hypothetical.
But what is hypothetical?
I mean, a lot of
I feel like this conversation is prison right now, man.
I
Chained
would
up and shit.
change as hypothetical.
well,
You have the
okay.
option to leave. Don't
So,
stop it.
yeah.
I'm kidding,
You have
man.
free will.
So the
No, you don't.
theory of all this, you're driving him. So,
Actually, you're driving us.
Oh man, so many things are changing.
It's knowing out.
yeah, so so many things just changed my mind right now.
T-1, there was nothing like this.
Did it snow?
Yeah, it's snowing outside.
Yeah, that's great.
T-1, it wasn't.
That's hypothetical.
I agree with that actually.
That's
A T minus to snow.
No, I'm gonna read more upon this.
You guys are going crazy,
No,
man.
basically you're talking about a concept of before knowing there was before anything there was nothing, or before that anything.
Change can only allow by the rule that exists. So that rule that exists cannot change.
Yeah, but I feel like there's two different parallel arguments. There's parallel meanings of change.
Yeah.
You're talking about change in your way.
Yeah.
He's talking about change in his way. So there's no way you guys can come to a conclusion.
Yeah, it's philosophical.
No, it's not. It's just two different definitions.
But hold on, you have to
It
make a
is.
lot of assumptions to prove your point. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay, then, yeah. So you have to look at the periodic table, right? You have to look at the basic fundamental. Oh, not even fundamental, like the chemistry of every element that we know, right? What creates that, right? And there's formulas within, and then you can keep zooming in, then you can get to quantum mechanics, and you can keep going back until the universe allows you to see, right? So we can't see that far back, but everything has to be made of some sort of formula, right?
If you want to
Okay.
assume, yeah.
If
We
not,
don't know.
okay.
I mean, I
What if
guess
we were
we've been.
always just here.
I mean, I guess you have the string
okay.
theory that's trying to
Okay.
Bring all the big and small
Well,
things together. And
Aristotle and Socrates, the word atom comes from being I forgot what it means, but it means like
I got you.
no, it means that atom is like the where everything starts from, right? That's where the word atom comes from. Like
but
this,
it doesn't, right? They were proven wrong.
Yeah.
The definition is wrong.
so it can go far back to T-1, where everything is constant and formulas that allows for everything to be.
But what Z's point is that
I'm assuming.
what your like theory is based on is a lot of assumptions, where his theory is not based on as many
And it's
assumptions.
I just want to say it's not my theory.
His theory is-
By the way,
I
the
do
word-
appreciate it.
Z created this himself.
the word Latin, the word Atom. Basically, the word that you're looking for, the definition you're looking for, it's indivisible.
Yeah,
So the
there we
whole-
go. You can't divide it, but it is divisible. Like,
Exactly.
Yeah, but that was
So it
you
changed-
can't change it. So
Yeah, I mean that's how it started.
Yeah,
The whole
exactly.
point of the word atom was they found something that was indivisible.
so
at the
is
time.
is there a thing in the universe that's not indivisible?
So electrons are very interesting. It has no known dimension, and Neil
But
deGrasse Tyson was talking about.
electrons rotate around an atom, right? Or no, not an atom, but they make
Electron
up an atom,
cells.
nucleus of an atom, right? So that's still divisible by quarks.
I mean,
Interesting. Are they?
how far small can you go? It's like a whole universe or it's infinite, right?
So that's a bizarre thing. Electrons, they have no known dimension, and they don't know how small it is because there's nothing smaller to compare it to. We don't even know how small an electron is.
Yeah, cause the electron probably not, but the neutrons.
The protons.
No, this is not a good source.
That was my answer.
It's a religious source.
Google the T-1 theory.
See Ollie's face.
Yeah, he's trying so hard to promote it.
No, but like this is what I think about the most, right? And then where I try to find God is before T-1. There has to be a God that creates everything, right? So he has to be these laws of nature that allow everything to be
Makes sense.
to exist, because he has to be the formula that people can be, in it.
Before you can put things in a box, the box has to be there.
Yeah, and that has to be God.
Yeah, but
God's a box.
Yeah, he's
but
a
the
cardboard
thing
box.
is, but that box is a bigger assumption than what Z's making. That's what Z's point is.
But people that believe in but then there's a card. Okay, so yeah,
I mean, that's a complete different argument, isn't it? Like, if you're talking about something bigger, then we have to like take everything else into like accounting. But apart, like was Z saying that change happens over time with whatever it is going on with, but outside of that, we have little information about to assume on what it could be.
Of course, and I'm not saying I have enough information to back it up. I'm just
Since
saying
Z created that law, I think he has a right.
he has a right to change it.
Z's law.
My law is also changing.
But Z can never change.
Yeah, so they haven't
It's a
found.
curse.
So you're right. They haven't found any proof, and I can't find anything that. You know, when they do the tests on the Large Hadron Collider, they can't find any proof that the electron is made of smaller particles. That's pretty crazy.
What?
I mean, this is as far as I know. Everything
So
I've been
what
looking at, I
is
could
what
be
is
wrong,
it
but-
made out of, the electrons then?
Well, it's not. There's no weight to it. If I'm right.
Yeah, it doesn't have
just-
any
It
weight.
takes up approximate space.
So is it just energy then?
Just energy.
Yeah, I guess. I'm really
'Cause what
confused
a
right
pro-
now.
Everything is made of energy.
Oh, this is mind blowing stuff. I can't just learn it all in quick
Well,
Google search.
that's your job,
I'm trying
bro.
my best though.
You have to know it, but no.
Neil deGrasse Tyson would say it's like the dark matter of our known particles. Like we don't understand it. Like
What about
what's going on?
what about the positive charges? I know the positive
They have
charges
mass.
have mass, but what is that made out of?
So you're talking about protons?
Yeah,
So I think protons are divisible. So,
but what are they, atoms then?
so protons, in fact, I was just reading that
Quarks or
protons. Yeah, I think divisible. Protons are divisible, but the electrons are not. I don't know.
But if they have no mass, is it just energy?
Can protons or
Yeah,
neutrons be
if it's
split?
not mass, it's pure energy.
How do they even measure that?
Because light is massless, but what's weird is it's all energy, right?
Yeah,
But there's photons.
that's pretty crazy.
3 quarks. Originally, I thought there were going to be only 3 quarks. 6 quarks that made up all subatomic particles in the proton and the neutron. So it is made up of quarks.
So protons are made out of
Yep,
quarks.
exactly. So this last paragraph basically explain the whole thing. So they did prove that protons and neutrons can be divisible, but they still have not proven that the electron is.
Yeah, because electrons are super small.
Just pull
Without
up
dimension.
pull up the standard model. That's the word I was looking for. So the standard model is what we know of the universe, and that makes up everything of it. So when Husband pulls it up, I'm kind of
You're
Yeah.
pumped?
yeah.
Of the standard
want-
model.
He's about to take it to you, Z.
No, he's right though, because that
So
gives you
standard
it
model
gives
is
you a
what-
time. It gives you a chart.
The standard
Round
model is
5.
everything that we know that makes up the universe. So you get your quarks, you get your oh man,
So this is electron.
you got that. So we just recently added the Higgs
Higgs
Boson.
boson.
yeah,
Boson.
Boson.
and then you have your ghost
Idiots.
neutrinos.
Haas boson.
Hold on, I'm trying to find a better chart.
It gives everything mass.
But this is everything that we the standard model is everything that we've broken down to the smallest form
Right.
of so the atom is made out of these things,
yeah.
right? But these things within his
I think this is it right here.
yeah, this is it. I'm just trying to recollect my memory. So the purple ones are your quarks.
Mm-hmm.
What's the thing on the left? I can't read it.
Leptons.
Yeah, so you got your
Leptons, and then the orange.
yeah, so you got your
gauge bosons.
neutrinos and shit like that. But what I'm trying to say is like even the his boson gives you rise to all those other particles, right? That create the atom, that create the other molecule.
Wait,
But
does it give it rise? I thought it just gave mass to
Give
all those
mass.
particles.
it gave
I think-
mass, but it gives so it's part of the standard model. But minus his boson, we don't know what comes before it, right? But what I'm saying is whatever comes before it has to be constant to keep allowing that thing to keep popping up.
There's a Z boson too.
There,
You right there, Z.
right there.
Don't trip.
I
So-
turned into an atom.
So to whatever laws that says these things need to come to be, it has to be constant.
this is-
You can't have them being changing all the time because that's gonna change your reality.
how-
You open this door and you leave right now. You're saying your reality is gonna change every time.
Not
So that's
it's
like-
always changing, but
It will,
changed.
'cause
That it changed at some
What if we
point.
find
Everything-
something smaller that makes this up that changes? What they saying? That's like saying the Earth was always flat, and then
Okay.
the Earth will always be flat. No, but new technology can come into it, or new information that
Okay,
can
let's
change.
just talk about the God particle, right? We snap a finger, comes to existence, gets massive particles, and so forth, and it creates our reality, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want that snap to be every time the same. If you say that thing changes, you're saying that when you step out of that door, you can step into a reality where your atoms go flying everywhere.
But I think you're thinking that I'm saying it's constantly changing. I'm saying it as long
He's
as
saying
it changed at some
change
point.
is a constant, not that change. Like it's like constantly changing.
Like, not that it's happening right now, that an atom is changing right now, but even if it happened in the beginning of the Big Bang, it changed, that means. And if it does, like if T-1, something changes, it gives rise to another universe, a different universe.
In that regard, change is the only thing that's constant, yeah. I agree.
All right, we're on the same page again.
We should have clarified that.
Z, why would you say that?
1 hour on the subject.
Jesus Christ, dude.
Z boson.
So this is what an atom is made of?
Yeah. It starts from the boson, then it gives everything, then a good lace. It's called a standard model.
Of an atom.
I could explain it to you better like 3 hours ago. But then it turns it into an atom, which turns it into molecule.
So what's the up, charm, top, down, strange, bottom?
The best part, on Netflix they have Neil deGrasse Tyson. Shit, man, I shared it with you before. I don't know if you can recall it.
So these are
Unspeakable Universe, or something like that.
Yeah,
it's called by Neil deGrasse Tyson, and he has a 6-class course on the fundamental, or the universe itself, and he has a one hour class is based on the standard model.
Oh, really?
And he explains it very well. So like, it's kind of hard to grasp, but it talks about how atom is a what is it? Sorry, Greek word, right?
Yeah, atom is a Latin word.
Latin for being indivisible, but then we were wrong. And then it went to quarks, and when the quarks went into neutrinos went into the God particle and so forth. And then the God particles is what's there right now, but who knows? Maybe that could be divided.
I'm pretty sure it can be. Yeah.
But it's insane that we've come this far away. And what's crazy is I was just at Barnes and Noble with my daughter today. Before we wrap everything up, it's insane amount of information that we have about everything to a degree that people cannot imagine. We just take that shit for granted. I just bought like 2 books about physics, and I had a book and I let one of you guys borrow it, but I never got it back.
I'm not gonna say who.
Steve, it was
calling
Steve
calling us out on the podcast.
It was I want my book back.
Put that as a new standard model. That's pretty awesome.
The Big Bang.
Publish that and have a Netflix documentary.
That's gonna be the next. Are we still recording this or what?
Yeah, it's still going.
That's good.
Yeah. All right, so we call it a day.
Yeah, I mean, you can't top that.
I think
that's a 4-hour.
I think we can't change this anymore.
It's about to start again.
Yeah. What is life, guys? But no, as always, thank you for listening.
What are we doing here?
Check us out on our Mind High podcast page on YouTube and Facebook. Please like and support that and subscribe to YouTube. We got some cool ass content coming the way, right, Z?
Yes, sir.
Always.
Right,
Very
Shaz?
Cool.
Always.
It's gonna blow your mind.
Blow your mind, that will change it. Constantly will change your
blow your brain into quarks.
So you can no longer think.
You're gonna become a crackhead.
Make you think so hard.
But if you do support this podcast, please, the biggest way you can support us in return is to share it with other people as much as you can.
Give me $1.
No, give me a share. Because that only helps us show how many people are listening and care about it. So then in return, it motivates us to do better in delivering the content that we can provide. So again, we appreciate for all the support that we have gotten, and also the future support that we will get.
And God bless.
God bless us. Oh, and God bless America.
God bless America and nobody else.
Peace.
Peace.
Later.